I'm so grateful for another day to help stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the movement radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. 2 for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first.
Welcome back to 2 Cups Cafe, where I'm your host, Alan C. Jackson. Who I have coming through for a high-quality caffeinated conversation today is none other than Vinnie Riccardi. Dr. Riccardi, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm just so pleased that you would come and sit down and have this conversation with me. I've been knowing you professionally for some years. Even when I was not even an adult yet, you know, I've heard of Mr. Riccardi and all the things that you've been doing in this city. To the point where I did not even know until the last few years following you on social media that you weren't even originally from this area, man. You're an educator, entrepreneur, a mentor, administrator, so many other things that you do in the community. So I just want to take it back, you know, to little Vinnie and how you came up and then what led you, you know, to the Midwest here, and then we can go from getting into the population that we both serve.
Well, realistically, being in Toledo is an accident, to be very candid with you. I came here, I think it was in 1987. My brother had married his wife, who was originally from Toledo.
Okay.
I was the best man in the wedding, and that was in Long Island, New York. And obviously, I'm from New York. Well, not from Long Island. And so what happened is they were living there, and she was, I call her country bumpkin.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
I was not aware of Toledo, Ohio. To me, Ohio was nothing but cornfields, and I knew that the capital was Columbus. That's all I knew about Ohio.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my background is, my master's is in English and comparative literature, so I wrote. And in one of my writings, I actually didn't realize I was making fun of Ohio. And I said, oh, you know, someone got lost in the cornfields of that Ohio place. And then here it is, I'm here. But long story short is I had come for the christening.
Okay.
And that was the only reason why I came. It was supposed to be a weekend, maybe a week. I was a principal of a school in New York City. And, you know, I was closing down the school.
Okay.
Came here. My son was actually still in New York. So I bought him a plane ticket.
Okay.
Because he was 18, so I wasn't concerned about it. And came here. Found out there were some issues and stuff, which I'd rather not discuss right now, but it was some personal issues that I wound up having to stay to kind of help my brother out. And then in turn, he wound up getting divorced. I helped with the family. And I said, well, let me just stay a little bit. Well, when my son got here, he loved it here. I don't know why, but at that point he loved it. And I think it was the cost of living, and just he was able to connect. My sister-in-law was manager of one of those videos, Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, yeah.
Lasky.
Yeah.
And of course she gave him a job. So he's like, damn, Dad, this is excellent.
Got a job,
you know, I got a job.
Yeah.
And when I said, well, you know, let me look for something too real quick, since we're going to be here for the rest of the summer.
Right.
To get them connected, because they were looking at buying a house.
Okay.
I'm also a real estate agent.
Okay.
In New York, that is, not here. And so I was helping to look at houses to help them, you know, get one. So at that particular point in time, he fell in love with her sister. So now he's in love, he's got a job, and he's like, Dad, let's stay here. And I kind of like, you know, maybe it's time for a change.
A little slow down.
So I wound up applying, and my first job, which was so funny, is at Homer Hannum Boys and Girls Club. Now the funny thing is, now remember I alluded to the fact that she was a country bumpkin. So her family's like, no, you don't want to work down there. It's a central city. And I'm like, wait a minute, I come from Harlem. But like, what could be worse than El Barrio, Spanish Harlem?
Right.
So when I went there, I loved it, but it was only part-time. So I was like, well, wait a minute, you know, I need a little more income coming in at this particular point in time, since I got an apartment and was settling. So I applied at the University of Toledo, and my background, like I said, is drug prevention and stuff, and I wound up getting a job.
Okay.
So this is great. My son wants to go to college. He gets to go for free. I'm working for the university. I'm like, well, God, hey, this is great.
It's all right, yeah.
So I wound up staying, and then one thing led to another. While I was at the Boys and Girls Club and working at the University of Toledo, I don't know if you know, some of you.
Council.
Yeah. So I had applied. It was like a summer job, and they loved me, and I wound up becoming a supervisor. So I'm like, wow, this is great. This would have never happened like this in New York. So I stayed, and one thing kept on leading to another, and in turn, Connecting Point, which was the runaway shelter at the time, and we did a lot of mental health stuff, I became one of the directors.
Yeah.
And that's between the Boys and Girls Club, Connecting Point, the University of Toledo. My name began to get known within the community, and obviously those young people were growing up. So I stayed. Well, then from the Boys and Girls Club, I left and went to Wayman Palmer Y.
Okay, yep, Wayman Palmer.
And that was really, I was doing boxing because my background is boxing too. I was a boxing coach.
Okay, I
Worked
didn't know
with
that.
Pal.
I know
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
a lot of boxing stuff going on.
Yeah, so Pal.
Okay, yeah, police
We were over at the
athletic league,
ROTC building in UT because I was
remember
on
that,
campus
yeah.
with officer, my mind just went blank. But anyway, we were there. So with that, as I had my feet in so many different things, I'm like, this is really good. Well, in turn, I was seeing a lot of behaviors and
Okay.
obviously working mental health at that time, and we didn't use even the term mental health in those days.
Right.
At Connecting Point, the runaway shelter, I was seeing a lot of displaced young people. So I got into foster care. And the funny
So
thing is,
how long were you here before you got into foster care?
about a year. So I
Okay.
became a foster parent. I went to Lucas County Children's Services, became a foster parent. That was like maybe 1988.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, and this is like a really quick story, I never realized I was a foster child. I never knew it.
So you never knew you were a foster
I would
child.
never knew I was a
Okay.
foster child until finally when they did like the intake. And back then, becoming a foster parent was a little more intense than it is now. And one of the questions was like, well, who raised you and how did you get raised? And when
Yeah.
I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, my aunt raised me. So I got a hold of my mom and I was like, why didn't Aunt Catherine raise me? And she goes, well, she was your foster mom. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was a foster kid? Like, what happened?
yeah.
Now I'm thinking bad things. No, my mom was a young single, back in the 50s.
Yeah, for sure.
A young woman who had a child and she couldn't handle it. She moved into the convent, went to high school, and the orphanage was right there.
Okay.
So that's how I got it. So that was kind of like, I want to give back.
Yeah.
And I became a foster parent. And I've adopted probably, I lost count to be very honest with you, probably adopted 8 of my sons here in Toledo. I wanted to go back to New York, but now I have 30 grandchildren and 20 great-grandchildren.
Man.
There's no way in heck that I could go back to
Right.
New York because I can't afford to have family reunions in New York
Yeah, New
and
York
pay
is
for
crazy.
it. So I'm here. I mean, Toledo's my home. Toledo's been good to me. I have an apartment in New York.
Right.
And so being a foster parent, one of the treats that I have for any of my foster sons is, you do right. Let's go to New York. Everybody wants to go to New York.
Right.
So we just went there for Christmas, and we did a lot of Christmas stuff there.
So
And that's my energy.
So, what was the decision from fostering to when you make the decision to adopt?
The funny thing is, I never ever had intention of adopting. I mean, that was the least of the things on my thing. But when you have a young person who's living with you and they call you dad, and you look at your relationship and you fall in love with the child, and then knowing, well, I know being a foster parent, you got to get ready for them to go wherever they need to go. But
Right.
there was permanent custody on the 2 young men that I initially adopted. And it was like, well, where are they going to go? And that's when they asked me, it was like, well, you're my dad. You're the only thing I know as a dad.
Right.
And, of course, that brings, that, and it touches you
Your
here.
heartstrings, yeah.
And that's when I was like, we family. It doesn't matter. Because with any of the boys who live with me, either call me Uncle Vinny or Dad or Pops,
Pops, yeah.
or whatever. So it's, needed to make a change.
Yes, sir.
And so knock on wood, they were doing really well. Unfortunately, both of them have passed. One of my sons obviously had passed because of cancer.
Yeah.
And the other one actually was the one that was murdered a few years ago. I think it was maybe now we're probably celebrating the 6th year maybe. It was in the news. Unfortunately, he's the one who got murdered and his body was thrown in the field in Michigan. And that was like the most traumatic thing that I ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
Getting a phone call
Imagine, yeah.
from his best friend, who he called like his brother, just saying, Pops, I got bad news, where you at right now?
Yeah.
And right then and I knew when he said, where you at right now, I was like, wait a minute, something's fishy here. Like, why would you ever ask me that?
Right, right.
And I just knew in my gut that something was wrong. And that's when he shared, I need you to come here and I need to tell you what's going on and everything. And that's, unfortunate. And then, you know, in what we do,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we do see and hear a lot of bad stuff for some of
Right.
the young men that we have, and some of them make poor choices.
Right.
You know, we can only do what we can do, and then, you know, love, guidance, mentoring, and what have you. Just hope and pray that you know they make the changes. But we do look at, we have to be cognizant of, you know, trauma,
Right.
upbringing, environmental factors, and all that sort of stuff that comes to play. And, you know, we could just keep on trucking and trucking. You know, there's some stories, and I'm sure you can attest to it, that some of the young men that we have in our home, they just don't make the changes that they need to make.
for
And some
sure.
are incarcerated. Some are just habitual. They come out and they want to go back in.
Right.
And I'm not going to go on that milk crate preaching about, you know, how the system might be doing some wrong stuff or whatever. That's not my say right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, if they're not prepared when they come out and go through a transition period, then, you know,
Right.
you only know what you know,
That's right.
you know? And so with that being said, that's kind of hard. So that's what led me to
Yeah.
buying the house.
Okay.
And so now one of my little projects is, you know, having the home. Actually, I'm renting one with the hope to buy, but instead someone outbid me, so the owner just bought it.
Yeah.
But he's letting me keep it as
Okay.
far as rental unit. And the other house next to it I bought. God's been really good. I praise him every day, of
Yeah, for
course.
sure.
The two houses are across from where I work, from the Believe Center,
Right.
because I'm the director there. So it works out perfectly. Having the youth there gives me the opportunity to kind of like still mentor them.
Right.
They're young men because they've been emancipated, but they really can't find an apartment.
I know exactly what
And
you're saying,
unfortunately, you know, we're talking about homelessness here in Toledo, and I know I could go off on all these tangents, but that gave me the realization, like, you know, here it is, I'm foster dad, I help emancipate, but then what's out there?
Right.
And sometimes, and I'm not, and it's a systems issue. I mean, it obviously is a system issue, and I'm not talking ill about any system per se or entity, but the reality is we've got to do something better.
Just gaps in
Yeah,
different areas.
and that's when I said, you know, we have a tendency of talking about things, but, you know, we could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but if we don't help be part of that solution, and I said, you know, time's up, man. I got to do what I got to do.
So-
and that's why I do that.
Was it something from your childhood or your upbringing that when you came here that, like, it's easy for, I don't say easy, it's comfortable for me to deal with at-risk teenage boys because I kind of identify with a lot of the trauma that they have or a lot of the ways that they were raised or not raised, or, you know, I was on my own when I was 17, not because really of any ill of a parent. It was just that, you know, I graduated high school. It was kind of like that was your next progression. Like, you know, I'm done. You know what I mean? So was there something back from New York or how you were raised, or was it when you got here, you just got so embedded in the community that it was a transition for you?
I think it was two things, really. I mean, one of the things I'm the oldest of 7.
Okay.
And single parent, my mom, at that given point in time, she did marry Mr. Riccardi, and in turn, we took the name Riccardi.
Okay.
I raised my brothers and sisters. My mom had to work.
Yeah.
She continuously worked. We were living in Spanish Harlem at the time. We talking, this is the 60s, the 70s, where New York was dilapidated,
Yeah.
especially if you looked at the Bronx, if you looked at Spanish Harlem, East Harlem.
That's when they did all that.
Yeah, all that. I mean, I remember metal garbage cans being thrown at the police. There was gangs. Where I lived, I didn't even realize my Hispanic background at the time.
Yeah.
And so me with the blue eyes in a neighborhood where everybody's darker than me, you know, there was either you crossed First Avenue, it was the Italians.
Yeah.
You went on this side of First Avenue, it was the Puerto Ricans, and you moved over a little bit more, it was African Americans. And it was just like all this difference.
tension, yeah.
But I was fortunate and blessed because I was able to cross the lines. I never had that issue.
Yeah.
Because I used to work for one of the social clubs, was Italian, and I know it probably was connected. And I didn't know I was doing the numbers.
Yeah.
So I have to confess, excuse me, I was delivering newspapers into the apartment buildings, but I never knew in the newspapers was the envelopes of their money
Okay.
and their bets.
Yeah.
So, you know, little Vinny, and my street name was Sonny, and I used to work for, I won't say the name because obviously, but I worked for one of the social clubs, and I would go bring the newspapers and come back in half an hour, and I knew all the papers, and because they had the numbers of
Okay,
departments, and I
yeah.
would just deliver it. I only found out only because I'll never forget this old lady, because I was a hustler. You know, I've been on my own since 17 too.
Yeah.
And so with that being said is, I used to clean apartments, help move people move, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, anything legal, of course. And she opened the newspaper in front of me, and she pulled out the envelope. She had a lot of money. I have no clue what the money was at that time.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, God bless you, Sonny." And she wanted to give me money, and I'm like, why is she giving me all this money? And then it began to connect. So I never told my mom.
She hit the number, huh?
She hit the number. She hit it big, evidently. And so I never told my mom, but my mom knew that I was working, doing all that, because actually I helped subsidize, you know, I had brothers and sisters, so I wanted to make sure Christmas was good. So I always tucked that little money in my mattress and what have you. And then I helped pay for my sister to go to child care in the convent, you know, and I was working at the hospital. I was volunteering at the hospital, Mount Sinai Medical Center at the time, because I thought I was going to be a doctor. I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
I always knew that, but I didn't know what type of doctor. I didn't know
Right.
PhD versus this or anything. I just knew that, you know what, when I grow up, looking at TV, you would see these things where there was these upper class people. Well, let's go to the drawing room. Well, let's go to the billiard room. I was like,
Yeah.
you know what, that's what I want to be.
Right.
You know, I want to be doctor. I want to have and God's good. I have a billiard room and I have a theater in my house. You know, but of course it took time.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I said, you know, that's what I want. And because that's what I wanted, I want to make sure that the young men or the youth that we work with can see that, you know, who cares where you came from?
Right.
You know, who cares where you came from? I mean, if you look at where I come from to where I am now, I'm truly
Yes.
blessed. But it took time, it took
time,
energy,
yeah.
it took other people, you know, hey, you can do this, Vinny, you know, whatever. But I was always a go-getter.
Okay.
I was always, you know, the ADHD always set in. We didn't have
Yeah.
meds in those days.
Right,
It was either
right.
the belt or you just did what you needed to
Exactly.
do. You know, back in those days. So I always worked. I mean, I've been working since I was probably 10.
Okay.
And then going to the school, we went to Catholic. When my mother married Mr. Riccardi, he didn't want us in the public school, so we went to parochial school.
Okay.
And in the parochial school, I always volunteered afterwards. Got into like teaching after school, and saw like changes and how you connected with individuals. And I kind of liked that feeling. I think it was probably self-rewarding. And then I know that I was always the oldest, and I, you know, always was one who said whatever because my mom wasn't around.
Right.
Not that she chose not to be. It was
She
like
had to work,
she just trusted me while she was in the building cleaning or doing her data processing, whatever the heck she was doing at the time. You know, I had my brothers and sisters. You know, I would take them to the park. And I wanted to make sure, because I was fortunate that the foster home that I was living with, and I called them aunt and uncle. But when I was younger, I thought they were my mom and dad.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I never knew. I went back home. I went home, rather, when I was 6. And that was a culture shock in itself. But long story short is when I lived with the Cedar Roths, which I call them my aunt and uncle, is they always exposed me to a lot of culture.
Okay.
You know, they lived in Brooklyn in Park Slope. Well, now it's called Windsor Terrace, so it's, you know, kind of nice neighborhood, kind of like the Huxtables, townhouses and all that sort of. So I was always accustomed to that lifestyle. Then when I moved,
They call those brownstones.
yeah, the brownstones, townhouses. And so what happened is, when I moved to Harlem, you know, walking up the stairs, roaches, dirt, garbage in the streets.
Yeah, Master
you know,
Splinter,
it was like a culture shock. But, you know, when I look back at everything, that's what made me stronger, because I'm able to relate. And so therefore, you know, when you have some individuals, some young people who are like, man, you don't know, you know, you come from,
yeah, get
man,
the
look, you
hard side.
own several houses, man, Vin Dog, you don't know. Excuse me?
Right.
If I tell you, I mean, I got stabbed. I had to pull a knife out of my hand when I got jumped on 124th Street. I remember I was paying the light bill, and they knew I had money. You know, I had to fight.
Yeah.
Thank God for metal garbage cans, because that's what I whacked them with. You know, but I mean, you know, you have that. And so I think that helps me be able to relate. You know, you don't have, like, we as men don't have to be pregnant to understand that when a female gives birth, what that pain is. You don't have it. But you can be empathetic and understand it. And so, yeah, you know, with that mindset is, I can relate to some of the stories they have. Now, of course, you know, there's some traumatic things, you know, whether the abuse, the neglect, and all that dependency or what have you when youth are in foster care or situations, you know, that's a thing in itself. But, You know, the whole thing is letting an individual know that you love them, that you care for them, and that you do matter, and that whatever your dream is, you can actually probably make it. And I'm fortunate and blessed because my grandson is a Bronco. Yeah. Nick is one of the Broncos, and Broncos are doing really well, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that, I can use that story saying, like, here you go. Like, who would have ever known? I mean, I feel blessed being able to say, like, you know, brag, like, yeah, you know, Nick, that's my grandbaby.
Yeah.
You know, all big dude that he is. But
Right.
the reality is being able to say, so you think of where people come from, not that there was any negative sort of thing in his
Right.
childhood or anything, but just the fact is, you can be what you want to be if you really, you know, choose to do it and pursue it. Now, of course, there's going to be bumps in the road, and maybe that's what you want to be might not be what you really are destined to be. But, you know, we could all be successful, and I just want to make sure that they understand that. And that's difficult, you know, because there's so many other factors.
No, for sure.
You know, case in point. You know, I had one of the young men that lived with me. He disrupted C.A.S.A, wanted to take him out because he wanted to bring in a gun into the house.
Right.
Obviously, you know, you got to move out of town because someone was threatening to come back to the house to get him.
Yeah.
And then the youth came back, and I hope and pray that he makes better choices. But as you also got to realize, like, okay, just don't gravitate to the knuckleheads that you used to gravitate
Right,
to.
exactly.
You know, you got to make those changes. And, you know, sometimes reality checks take a while for some of our young people. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But
So-
I'm not giving up.
So I know, like, so you did fostering, you bring youth in, but then you also do like school advocacy.
Right, I'm a surrogate.
Yeah.
Actually, just before I came here, and that's why I kind of was thrown off, is unfortunately, I'm a surrogate for the Toledo Public Schools because we know that any youth that don't have a legal guardian
Right.
or they're in care, there has to be someone legally that knows the
help
case.
education decisions.
And
stuff,
you know,
yeah.
obviously my background is education. So he'll make that decision like yay, nay, do we need another IEP, et cetera, or what changes.
Right.
So I do that. Like I said earlier, my background really is, I'm very pro-education, and I'm glad that my mother pushed that. You know, education for all of us. You know, we all are all educated. Not all my brothers and sisters have PhDs, but the fact is everybody is educated.
Right.
She made sure of that. So, you know, I do that. And then with that coming around, you know, I was questioned because I am the president for the Latino Alliance for Northwest Ohio.
Okay.
I was actually asked, I had joined the alliance because of the Believe Center, and then finding out when people realize, like, Vicente, tú hablas español too? Like, Vinny, you speak Spanish? I said, yes, yo soy Puerto Rican. You're like, you're Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
Wait, I never knew you were. You know, yeah, Riccardi, Vinnie Riccardi,
Right,
very
right, right.
Italian. You know, you can't get more Italian than Vinny. But the reality is, you know, we're all very mixed.
Right.
When we look at it, I mean, my mom is part Cherokee Indian too.
Okay.
So with that being said, not to sound cynical or anything, but more of my Hispanicness has come out because I'm now dealing with more of that population, and I feel very comfortable because when I do go to New York,
And I didn't even, I'm gonna let you get back to it, but I didn't realize even in Toledo, just being, you know, with the escuela, you know, the Spanish school and stuff, that we have different Latin Americans or Spanish, like, you know, Hondurans or Guatemalans or Mexicans. Like we was talking earlier off camera, like growing up in Toledo when I was a kid, it was like either you was, you know, you was black, white, or you was Mexican. They just
you
lumped-
mixed.
You mixed. They just lumped everything together.
yes,
and then,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
So,
And that was kind of like a culture shock for me when I first came. I know we're jumping, but that was a culture shock because coming from New York, you just don't think that. You just assume, and I know assuming is wrong, but last name Riccardi, he's probably Italian, and you just leave it alone because there's so many different ethnic groups or
Right.
mixtures of ethnic groups. You just don't know, and you really don't care.
Right.
And not to be cynical by any form or fashion, but the fact is, New York is you know, hey, I got to go where I got to go.
I don't got time to get into the weeds.
You know,
and everything.
like
yeah.
it's my philosophy is move or lead, follow, or get out of my way kind of mentality, and that's kind of like actually I used that for one of my speeches.
Okay.
And so with that being said, is that's the New York state of mind. When I came here, as you alluded to earlier, is I'll never forget. I think I shared the story with you when this young girl at the Boys and Girls Club, you know, said, "What is you?" And I never heard of the term "What is you?"
Right.
And then she said, "Is you Mexican?" No disrespect, my Mexican friends. And I was like, wait a minute, you don't call a Puerto Rican a Mexican.
Right.
And so I was looking at her like, what do you mean? She goes, no, is you Mexican or is you mixed? Never heard of the phrase mixed. And I'm thinking like, she calling me like a mixed up? Am I crazy? Like, what is this girl?
Right,
Is
she
what
allude to,
what
right.
box is she putting me in?
Right.
So I'm like, honey, like, what do you mean? She goes, is you mixed? Is you black? Is you white? What is you? And that's when it hit me like, oh, you know what? And then I realized, because I talked to one of the staff there who actually, she became my girlfriend, and she's mixed. And so what happened is, she said, no, here it's either you black, you white, you're Mexican, or you mix.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not how it works.
Right.
You know, as you just said, you know, you could be Guatemalan, Ecuadorian, San Salvador, whatever the case is.
yeah.
When we talk about Hispanics or Latinos, and that's a whole other ball game. You know, so right in that pot is a mixture. And then, you know, you get caught up, and that's one of the things that actually caught me up is, I'll never forget, one of my sons was light-skinned, kind of mixed. And my other son was very dark-skinned. And I'll never forget how they used to argue with each other. Man, you blacker than black. I'm like looking at you like, what difference is it?
Like, what's going on?
Are you
Yeah.
for real? You brothers. Man, he only, and then one son said, well, I'm not going to go out with a white girl. Meanwhile, he wanted to marry one. So that's funny in itself. But the fact of the matter is like, what difference does it make,
Yeah.
you know? It's kind of toned down now considerably. I mean, obviously it's years that have passed. But getting back to the Hispanic thing is, I became more involved now because one, being at the Belief Center, you know, it is the old historical South End.
Yep.
We do have a large population of Hispanics there. And then the Mental Health Board had approached the Belief Center because Adelante had closed.
Okay.
And Hispanics were not receiving services, and there was no connection, and then also the language barrier. And so then they kind of approached the Sofia Quintero Center and myself, the Belief Center, and said, hey, what can you guys kind of do? So in turn, that's what we're doing. Well, I didn't realize, you know, because I live in the Old West End, didn't realize that there was so much disparity and barriers for people who couldn't speak English. You know, maybe being naive, in New York, it's like, you go in any place and you got like 14 languages.
Right. You can.
I mean, you go to Queens and there's like 800 languages or something being spoken in Flushing, Queens. You know, so you don't think about that. And it kind of hit me like, so then I really went full throttle and I got elected. I think it's because I talk. You know, I don't have a problem talking.
You got a lot of experience too.
So I got elected to be the president of the Latino Alliance of Northwest Ohio. And then in turn, you know, I sit on several boards. And with that, that's a blessing. And we made some changes. For example, we just brought Lila Ramos, Toledo, which is a training program for people from Hispanic descent or Latine, because remember, we got to be correct.
Yeah, it's a lot of,
you know, with that, you know, I helped start that, and God bless Margarita de Leon, who actually helped found it.
So what do they do? What's their?
So basically, Lila Ramos is, we do a training where you learn about your culture, but then also how can you be a leader within the community. And I think one of the biggest thing is, especially, you know, someone who is Hispanic, kind of like sit back and be quiet. No, you need to let your voice be heard. And now what's happened, unfortunately, with the administration we have, and I'm not going to go there, there's been a lot of changes, but we still, you know, you still need to be, you still need to be forceful, energetic.
I had some boys that were working on the South Side. They had
They were working for Flock?
Flock, the homies.
Flock, the homies.
Yeah, they were working with the homies, and I had a chance to, you know, these guys weren't, you know, Hispanic, but at the same time, the way that they try to teach them that work ethic and that, like you said, that advocacy and speak up and to train them. Like, I think I had for 2 years, I had boys working with the homies, and it was, like, I learned so much about the South End. The young man, he moved on, now his name was Chibuzo. He worked with my boys like a few years ago, and that was really impactful. Yeah,
and see, and that's the thing, and I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people don't realize that, you know, and I'll confess too, because a lot of my work initially, before working at the Old South End, was always on the other side of the door.
Right.
So my group home was on Belmont when I had my group home, so I worked with the Doug.
Right.
And then of course Wayman Palmer. And then, you know, I'm known in the Cherry Woods, and I'm known in the Moody Manor. So that was always my hood, so to speak. and then went out to Burnport. So it was always that side of Toledo.
Exactly,
Never
showing
crossed Door or like the trail to Broadway and what have you. And then seeing a lot of the stuff there was kind of like a not a culture shock because I already was familiar, but I was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed.
Didn't know this. They had this richness right there because like when I was on the south side, that's first when I started learning about the sustainable like gardens and they had chickens over there and they were doing like all types of things like in the community that I had never seen at that time. I know this spread across the city now, but it was just like a pride or ownership that they had. Like some of the areas, a lot of blight still, a lot of poverty,
Right.
but at the same time there still was like a pride about the people. Like, no, we're gonna make this better together. And I think that's the type of energy that I'm trying to put into like the area, like they say, on the other side of town, to where like, hey, this don't have to look like this. Like,
Right.
like some of my group homeboys, like, I'm like, hey, why are you throwing chip bags and water bottles in your yard, man? Like, this is not how you like take care of where you live. So just trying to get that efficacy and that pride into their surroundings. I take that a lot from the one of my boys is with the homies.
Well, and the other thing is, excuse me, is when you go down Broadway, well, of course, you know that they've redone Broadway, which is beautiful. The culture is very intense because it kind of like is permeated through everything. Not just the language, but if you just look at all the murals.
The murals, yeah.
So when you go there, you feel, because, when I go to Puerto Rico, it's a whole different feeling. I feel it because, I love my Puerto Rican food.
Yeah.
Like just the other day I made, I had made coquito and all my staff, I gave them the coquito and they're like, oh my God, this is good. I was like, well, hold on, I don't want you getting drunk here now. Here's a little thing you can take home. And then, we got the pernil and, the mofongo and the arroz y habichuelas and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, that's what I enjoy doing because my hobby is cooking.
Okay.
And I think that's mainly because I had to cook. And I kind of I did experiments with some food because, like I said earlier, I was the oldest one, and my mother was working. So I just decided, she's working. Let me cook. I'll just make it up. And I was making the food. And then when I would go to Abuela's, the grandmother's house, or Titi Jenny's house, and she was cooking that, I would just be looking like, how do you make the rice that it don't stick or burn?
Right.
Just stupid things like that. And so now I pride myself, I don't burn rice.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
You don't need no rice cooker.
Oh, rice cooker, that's an insult. You don't do that. You cook in your corredor.
Yeah.
There's that special pot that, it just holds it. But with that being said, I enjoy doing that. And then once again, living in the Old West End, my dining room table has 16 chairs.
Yeah.
So when it comes time, and I'm sure you've probably seen it on Facebook, when it's like the holiday meals, I think for Christmas, Christmas, New Year's, excuse me, I think I maybe had 40 people.
See, yeah.
I had to fold the dining room table, then put a table in the living room, and then those little kiddie tables and everything. The house was full. So much so that fortunately I'm blessed I own both houses next to each other. I had to have my other son popped up unexpected with his 5 kids. I'm like, there's no room at the inn.
Yeah, we got to
So they went next door and they were at that dining room and hit that living room and dining room. So I'm going between 2 houses. And it's like, but that in itself, excuse me, I really feel good. It's almost like, not to sound funny, but like Big Mama's house sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows, just go to Pop's house, over there on Parkwood.
Yeah.
And there's been times I'm like, I really can't afford, I really should sell this house. But it's like just the spirit in that house, I just can't. And on the walls, got all the pictures of any of the young men that lived, and my sons.
So that's his home for so many people, yeah.
Like even the painter's like, well, you want me to paint? I was like, no, don't worry about this room. I'll just keep on washing with the Fabuloso wall.
Yeah.
Because I can't move those pictures because I know right now I could close my eyes and tell you the story for every one of those pictures, each one of those young men and women, my grandkids and everything. I could tell you when that picture was taken, where, what I was doing, because 9 times 10 I'm the one who takes the pictures. And that's Vinnie. That's me. And I told them that if I pass, hope no time any soon, as I said, that house is not to be sold.
Yeah.
Because I had the first floor. It was a duplex.
Okay.
And so I had one of the boys emancipated. He took half of the second floor.
Okay.
But the first floor I keep empty. And that's whenever a family member, because recently I had my nieces came up here and my nephew from Oklahoma, because my family after 9/11 moved out of New York.
Okay.
And so they're in Oklahoma. So that being said, why get a hotel?
Right.
There's 2 bedrooms there and a third.
Yeah.
Spend it there because reality is you're going to be eating here anyway.
Right. This is home. Yeah.
You
for
know,
sure.
so there's kind of like that. And you know, when I look at some of the movies, you know, when you look at Tyler Perry movies, and I always wonder, like, how the hell do all these people, they all visit and they're all staying at the same house? Like,
Yeah,
damn, how
yeah.
many bedrooms does this house have?
Right,
And these are
right,
grown folks.
right.
You know, they're married couples. So like, how many bedrooms you got? You know, so I kind of like enjoy that
Yeah.
feeling like I could be hospitable. But then that's also me. It's like, you know, and that's part of our ethnic group.
Yeah.
You know, being Italian, it's food. How you show love to people,
It's food.
Hispanic and Italian, because we're very intertwined, is you cook for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to a Puerto Rican household, 9 to 10 is going to be like, mira, oye, bendición, blessings to you, siéntate, tú quieres comer, do you want to eat? And they're going to feed you something. You might even say, and it's disrespectful, by the way, I'm not hungry, I just ate. What? That's
Right,
a disrespect.
right.
Like, no, you're sitting down
You
and
gotta eat
eating,
something. Yeah.
and you're not gonna pick. You're gonna eat. And let's be real, our food is good anyway. So
Oh,
whether
yeah.
you're hungry or not, you're gonna smash.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I gotta brag on that part. But you know, but that's love. You know. And then the joke was, I remember someone was like, you know, Vinny, how do you make this and how do you make your whatever? I was like, well, what's your recipe? What recipe?
Right.
I don't know the recipe. I just do it.
Just make it.
And
yeah.
so when I made lasagna, because that's a big thing, you know, for the holidays, everybody likes it. I can't stand lasagna. I think I had enough Italian food in my life, but I'll make it.
Okay.
And so one of them is like, how do you make it? And I was like, you got to just watch me.
Just
I
gotta
can't
watch.
tell you.
That's how they used to
So
do
she's
it,
over there
yeah.
like, well, that's probably about, quarter cup of oregano. I'm like, I don't know. And she said, wait, hold on. I didn't get to see how much you poured. I'm like, I don't know. It's just,
She gonna have to video it. 'Cause
it's
you
just
gotta
the
get that
smell and
aroma,
it's just
yeah.
whatever. But I mean, we could talk forever about food because
Yeah.
that's my thing.
So you've been working with youth probably what, 40, 50 years?
Yeah, well, I mean, I graduated, I graduated college in 78.
Okay.
From 78, I've always been in education
78
of
education.
some form or fashion. So I've always worked. And I think the connection is I've always worked with the displaced youth, the behavior youth. And that's actually what I like, to be very honest with you, is because I know, like, I just gotta, you know, I gotta do something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of them are pushed aside, you know, within the education arena or whatever the case may be. Is like, you know, I can't deal with this kid anymore. You know, Vinny, can you deal with him? I'm like, why I go into the classroom, like, for example, one of the schools that I just went into,
Yeah.
you know, the kids were all acting up and everything. I walked in and I'm not the principal anymore.
Right.
I walked in and I'm like, come on now, people.
Right. Right.
It wasn't like I had the authority to suspend or expel. I didn't have that authority. I just went in like, come on now.
Like, what we
And then, of
doing?
course, you know, not to be funny, I might kind of like change some, you know, obviously it's change up with, you know, some of your, I mean, come on, player, you know better.
Right.
You know,
Right.
You hit them where they are, not to be disrespectful or anything, but then they realize, like, you know, oh, that's Vin Dog, man. Like, even, I think the other day I was over by the Cherrywoods, and I had dropped off one of the boys for basketball. It was some of our players. And I had pulled, and I was double parked, but I kept my flashes on because I wanted to make sure, because it was not dark. I
Right.
wanted to make sure that the kid went. Part of me really wanted to walk him, but I was able, the parking lot, I could see his
Okay.
apartment. Please pull up in front of me. Whoop, 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 whoop. What are you doing here and everything?
Right.
Well, since I'm a C.A.S.A, I pulled out my C.A.S.A thing, juvenile
Yeah,
court.
yeah, juvenile
I pulled it
court.
out and I pulled my license coincidentally. And one of the officers was like, oh, that's Mr. Vinny.
Yeah.
And I knew him as a kid.
Okay.
So then some of the kids come up, man, that's Vin Dog, man. Why are you messing with Vin Dog? I'm like, hey, leave it
Just
alone.
relax.
Like, leave it alone. I didn't
got this,
do anything wrong.
Right.
You know, but the thing is, but there's that respect. And that's so important. That's so important that, you know, and I'm very appreciative. But then again, I've been around. I mean, God's good. This year I'm going to be 70.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm going to be 70.
Man,
A lot of people don't realize I'm going to be 70 this year.
Yeah.
And that was a shocker. My son's like, man, Dad, you still doing this? SHI, you know,
Right.
man, you got to give it up. You got to retire. Retire? First of all, I have no money for retirement. I've spent on the houses. So that's number
Take
one.
care of you for real.
You know, and I said the other thing is, but if I retire, let's look at the statistics. Most people who give up doing what their passion or their vocation is, they generally die within a few months. I said, I got too much still to do.
So
I'm building up the Believe Center.
Yeah.
We're making changes. The South End is really doing well. You know, I sit on all these committees.
Yeah.
I'm on Fair Housing Board. You know, all this, and changes are happening. I can't pull myself out of the equation right now. It's like I'm on a mission.
So how do you? I know it's a term they coined. You know, it's probably been around for a while, but I started hearing more and more of it. It's called how do you combat what they call compassion fatigue? Like when you pour out so much, you give to so many people. Like what fills your cup? Like what refreshes you?
Like I said earlier, is the story like that text just before I pulled up. You know, it's that. It's going into Walmart. Now, no lie, I'm not gonna lie. There's times when I just run in there, let me have to go to Woodforest Bank, do the deposit or the withdrawal, whatever. Let me run, okay, I gotta get this, and let me get the heck out, because I gotta run to my next appointment or back to the Believe.
Yeah.
And I get stuck, Mr. Riccardi, how you doing? And then it's like, and now my brain, you know, my brain is still floppy disk. It's not, you know, so I'm still, you know, trying to run the computer. Like, I recognize the voice.
Right.
I kind of recognize, but of course through age, and maturity, like, who is this person?
Right.
And how do I know you? And I don't want to sound like I don't know you.
Right.
So when they're saying, well, number one, I know Mr. Riccardi versus Dr. Riccardi, because I didn't get my PhD till I was here for a few years.
Okay.
So if you call me Mr. Vinnie, then like, okay, you were probably through the Boys and Girls Club, Wayman Palmer Y, you know, so I can kind of like, okay. So she said, Mr. Riccardi. So I'm like, okay, she probably knows me through the schools. I might have been one of the teachers or the principals at the time. And then when she goes, well, when we were at, and then something clicked, and I was like, you were at Alliance Academy? She goes, yeah, I can't believe you remember. And I want to introduce my daughter. And you know, I was so glad. You remember I was supposed to be suspended, and you're the one who advocated and did not suspend me. And I'm trying to, and I was, for the life of me, I couldn't remember the story.
Right.
And she goes, remember there was the fight, and those two girls attacked me and everything, but you were the one who said, no, don't suspend her. Going through history, I remember that I knew that if this girl was suspended, she was not going to come back.
Yeah.
And I also knew what she was living, what was going on at the house, because I made sure that all my students, I wanted to know what was going on. Not to be nosy, but I wanted staff to know, like, hold on, some kids you got to handle with more kid gloves, a little more firmth or love, versus some others where it's like they have a mom and dad. And not saying that everybody that has a mom and dad is perfect versus, you know, single family. That's not what I'm saying is, but what's the structure? What's the love? What are they going home to?
Right.
And so this girl, I knew no way in hell, if you suspend her for the 5 days that they were looking at, she was not going to come back. So I like said no.
Yeah.
I overruled it, and I'm the principal. She's not going to say, well, you know, according to the student code of conduct, blah, blah. I said, I appreciate that and everything. I said, but you know what? I'm going on a limb, and I'm doing an executive decision.
Yeah.
She's not suspended. She will be in, and we created a room.
Okay.
And that room was like, she got her schoolwork and everything, and that room actually began to grow. Staff was buying into, like, we can't keep on putting the kids out because education is very important. But more importantly, when they're gone, they're not learning. And when they come back, they got to relearn what everybody else learned. And then that's more work on the teachers, because now you got Miss X, who's been gone for 5 days. You already went through 2 units, maybe.
Right.
Now you got to backtrack because the foundation
Try to bring them back. Yeah.
So I was like, you're cutting your nose to spite your face. And so we put that kind of model in, and then obviously we got ISS now, finally in. But I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I helped when I had Aurora Academy. We called it the Eagle's Nest. And that was very therapeutic. I had a counselor in there. Okay. Now most of the schools have behavioral health care. We didn't have those back in those days.
No, I remember that.
So I'm appreciative of that. But also I don't like the idea that some teachers just kind of like go to so-and-so. Yeah. You know, it's supposed to be therapeutic and it's supposed to be organic. I really believe that a lot of things need to be organic. Like you just tweak it as it's needed and then move on.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that until they're finally in the position to really understand and appreciate that. So getting back to the Walmart story is that hit me. And when she said, you know, I'm supposed to be suspended and you're the one who kept me there, she goes, I'm so appreciative because she goes, I just want to let you know, I'm a registered nurse right now. Boom. This is my daughter. My daughter goes to Notre Dame. Boom.
Right.
And she goes, and I own my house. I live out in, it was zip code 15. I can't remember the name of the street, but I think of zip codes.
Yeah.
And I know she lived in zip code 15 out there, past near the pond.
Okay.
Like Independence. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, a lump goes into my throat. Like, you made a difference.
Yeah.
You know.
That one decision.
Yeah, you made a decision, because I truly feel that if, like I said earlier, if she had gone home, she wouldn't have come back. Would she be where she is now?
Right.
I don't know. But I count my blessings, and I count the fact that that's what poured into my cup.
Yeah.
And everybody says, Vinny, you're a workaholic. Well, I've always been a workaholic.
Okay.
I can live up to 2 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
which I pretty much do. But that's the blessing. That's it. Being a CASA for the juvenile court. I remember when, let him rest in peace, Judge Flores.
For those that don't know, it's called a court-appointed special advocate.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the people that if a youth is in foster care, because there's so many people in their lives that change. Caseworkers come and go, supervisors come and go, teachers come and go. A CASA stays with the case while they're in care. With that being said, is our mantra, because I remember Judge Flores is the one who swore me in, let him rest in peace, is we used to have a pin, and it was the starfish. Are you familiar with the starfish story? Are you familiar with the story?
No,
okay, so the starfish story, and that's to let everybody know that's what I live.
Okay.
And that's what keeps me going, because everybody's like, well, you had a kid commit suicide in your house. How do you still do this stuff?
Right.
You have your kids pass. That's all negative stuff. But that also helps keep me stronger, because if I do give up because of that, God has reasons for whatever he does. And I have to accept that. That's what keeps me going. It's my faith.
Okay.
But also the story of the starfish, real quick, and I'll edit it for the sake of time, is the story is that there's an individual, a kid or a man, whatever the case may be, here's the seashore, and the waves are coming in, and the starfish go to the sand. And so the individual picks up and throws it. So someone sees it and is watching, and finally goes to what are you doing? So the kid's, I'm throwing starfish, and he goes, but there's thousands of them.
Thousands.
There's thousands. You're not making any difference. And while he was talking, I wasn't doing anything, but to that one, I made a difference.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that gives me, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that, and I'm sure you attest to it too, because you do, your vocation is the same thing, that we might not make a big change for some, but that there's at least that one or those few that you have. And that's a blessing in itself, because if we were not around to even make that change, then what change would there have been?
Right, and that's why.
And that's the thing that keeps me going, because, I'm not going to lie, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. But, I can still walk, I can still talk, I can still see. God's keeping me all my features.
Yeah.
I'll just keep on doing what I can do. I'll probably still be doing it if I was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, for sure. You got any mentees that you brought up that's kind of like?
Well, my and if he sees this, he's gonna be like, "See, I told you." My son Danny.
Okay.
Danny, he was different. But fortunately, through all the changes, I wound up popping him into Central Catholic.
Okay.
He was mad as heck because he was in Scott. First he was in Start, but we got busted because I was using another address.
Okay.
And when they found out that it was the wrong address, remember back in those days you had to live in the address. Now it's open enrollment.
Right.
So they want to pop him into Scott. At that time, Scott's really good now. God bless Dr. Smith. He's doing a great job. I'm really proud of the building. Back in the other days, it was ghetto fabulous. It was ghetto fabulous.
Probably when I went, I don't know.
So with that being said, he wanted to go there because he wanted to be a manna boy.
Okay.
And I was really mad at him because I was running the YMCA at the time. So I used to call them manitors. I was so disrespectful to all the gangs. I would say, slob and crab and all that. I would talk to them and say, I never have a problem. And they're like, man, Vin Dog, why you? But I was able to get away with it. But they know I was not being disrespectful.
Right.
I love you.
Right.
I don't like what you're trying to represent.
Yeah.
And so therefore, because I had a son who died because of the gang stuff.
Right.
So that I'm very strong in that. So anyway, getting back to Danny, who is my heart, my soul, and he's me.
Okay.
So he worked for House of Emmanuel.
Okay.
So he was in the schools.
Yeah.
He can walk into a school building, man, employer, what are you doing,
Right.
and they listen to him. He had Rosa Park, he had Glenwood, he had all those schools and everything. So I wound up hiring him. I had a grant, but it was a short term. I wish I could have it longer.
Yeah.
I had him help at the Believe Center, but he's doing his thing and everything, and he is like the reflection of me.
Okay.
And so I feel really good because when people the funny thing is, he's Mr. Riccardi and I'm Dr. Riccardi.
Okay.
And so when we go into some things like, oh, that's Mr. Riccardi, oh, that's just like Dr. Riccardi, that sort of thing. And but you know what? But that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That lets me know, like, Vin Dog, you did a good job in raising him.
Yeah, for
You know what I'm
sure,
saying?
for sure.
So that's it. And then I have my other sons. All of them are all involved. I have another one who is
Yeah.
now helping with the basketball. He started his own. Actually, we're starting Sunday, the Pro-Am. And he was one that I mentored and, worked with everything. And he's like, Dad, I got to give back. I just got to give back. And I know
Yeah.
what. And he always wanted to talk sports and everything. I said, how about this then? You tell me what your dream is. You write down a business plan, and I support you.
Yeah.
So what happened, he wound up going with this draft and everything. He goes, no, we got to uplift. We got to let people really feel that, this is a real thing. I said, go for it.
Yeah.
So out of some of the funding for the Believe Center, I wound up being able to sponsor him, pay for the jerseys and what have you, and then they'll pay us back through, the concessions and stuff like that. I said, so you fronted the money out of, this pot because I already know it's coming back. Because now we have the contract that we're going to do the whole league.
Okay.
And that's
how many teams you guys got?
That's 6 teams for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 games. It starts at 7 o'clock on Sundays. Because right now we rent out the gym to Legends League, which is a 35 plus, which that's just a rental.
Yeah.
But that in itself, even that,
You guys
all
doing
those young
night
men.
runs too now, right?
Pardon?
Midnight
Run.
Yeah.
That's my baby.
Okay.
Midnight Run is I open up the gym, not we. I open up the gym.
Right.
Because I'm the one who's there.
Right.
The gym opens at 7:30, and originally it was supposed to be 16, 17, 18-year-old, and basically we was trying to stop the violence, and so we got part of the grants was to help subsidize it to keep young men off the streets because of some of the gun violence and what have you. But it's grown where some of those 17, 18-year-old are now 20-something, whatever.
Right.
So now I have some players that are like 27, 28 years old that still come, and they call me or text me, man, Mr. Vinnie, are you going to have open gym? And I'm like, yeah, so right now it's basically come. I don't care who, but you can't be a minor.
Right.
And that's mainly because it's so late. I don't want to be responsible, like how you getting home or whatever.
No, for sure.
Well, with that happening is I kind of tweaked it. I have a good relationship with Job One USA.
Okay.
And I help them get jobs.
Okay.
So fortunately, we're able to get some of the young men, because we do sit down and talk. We obviously have food. So they do they throw in their pennies and they make their own teams, what have you. Then we have a little break. I'll kind of go to them like, okay, so what are you doing? Well, I'm still dealing with baby mama drama. I said, so why are you still living?
Right.
He goes, well, no, she just put me on. I said, well, the black bag. I call it the joke, the black bag. You go in the garbage bag and now it's set to, I was like, you got to, it has to be in your name. Get your own apartment, set yourself up. And when you're ready for a relationship, have a relationship. I said, but right now, this playing, bopping back and forth and making babies, look, you can't get a legitimate job because child support's going to kill you.
Kill you.
So letting them understand some of those conversations is very important. But like I said but I try to make sure that they get jobs. Fortunately, we're able to get 5 young men jobs with the city of Toledo.
Okay.
So that's a blessing in itself. And actually, I got the text from Job One USA that now we're looking at filling the pool slots for the summer.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate that they kind of like get the word before it actually gets put out there, where it's like, and I'll make the recommendation. So here's the QR. Hurry and fill it right now, and I'll hurry and text them saying that that they're coming from the Believe.
Yeah.
That, and then of course the revitalization building, the Cherry Street, the old Macomber building.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of good stuff, and so connecting kids with young adults rather to that, and whether it's male or female. Now of course Midnight Run is male.
Right.
We have back in the days no females were allowed in. No little kids were allowed in. But what I found out is in one of the stories was kind of like an aha moment where one of them is like, man, Mr. Vinnie, I really want to play.
Right.
But because I now have my kid this weekend, I can't come because I can't bring my kid. But my present girlfriend is with me. So I was like, and she was the one who had the car. So I'm like,
Yeah, you got to adapt.
Yeah. So I was like, so in the cafeteria, I have books and some games and stuff. So they'll be in there playing.
Okay.
Not like it's childcare per se.
Right.
But she'll come in and watch the game and everything. But I don't have to worry about safety issues, because that was my biggest concern, having a kid running across the court while they're running down. These men ain't gonna look at their eyes on that ball and that basket. So that is grown. Well, now what's happened is they actually count on it. And I feel bad because when I go to New York, it's like, okay, that's a weekend deal. I'm sorry. I get texts and I'm like, but I told you That particular weekend.
I told you I wasn't gonna be there.
I
but they
said,
were like,
I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
So Danny used to be the one, my son used to be the one, but unfortunately we can't, pay him to do it at this particular point in time because that grant ran out. Me, because I'm there, it's like, I don't get
Yeah.
paid extra.
Just
I'm
do it,
there.
yeah.
So, and that's something that they really, really look forward to. I mean, like even today, being Wednesday,
Right.
they know I would post on our Facebook page and my page saying Midnight Run is happening or whatever. And then of course, then you got this other one, which I found out, I don't think he's got food in his house.
Okay.
Because he was like, so what are we gonna have? And I was like,
Yeah, right. Try to get the menu.
so lately I've just been ordering pizza because the numbers have grown. Before I used to only have maybe 20. Now I'm at like 35.
you got
men in there.
anybody trying to help sponsor it or?
No, I mean, we get some of the money from the juvenile justice grant that helps pay for some of the food and what have you, and it pays for the ref.
Yeah.
And then that's another thing. The ref, so my other knucklehead, he's the one who helps ref or helps coordinate because he's the one who's starting the program. And then I have one of my other young men who lives on my property across the street, and he's 28.
Okay.
And he calls me dad, of course, so he's my son. So with that being said, he monitors the two houses.
Okay.
And he comes over, and it was
Keep
amazing.
an eye on everything.
Yeah, and he's into basketball because
Yeah.
actually he was supposed to go to Mexico
Okay.
with a team, but with all this stuff is like, let's leave things alone. And he's my heart. I can't lie. There's like 5 of my sons. They're just my heart. Like they're my heart. And so I had called him because the other one's in Vegas celebrating his birthday, who Johnny does and stuff. I said, look, he said, man, you can't be alone like that. So he came and he ran it. But see, since he's been a baller for so long, he used to play for Glass City Wranglers and what have you. Everybody knows him. I'm not gonna say his name because it was, you just bragged about him. So I'll leave it alone. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. If you don't, oh well, it is what it is.
Right.
I hope he knows that I'm talking about him.
Yeah.
Because he's my love. So with that being said, he ran it. Man, I wound up leaving the gym. It was 1 o'clock in the morning.
They was balling.
Man, they were just they nonstop.
Right.
But the way that it was coordinated, and I think you have to be there. Everybody's like, man, Vinny, but you worked all day and you still there. Like, are you crazy? I said, but there's that vibe, and when you can see they're really getting to, and there wasn't any calls, no cursing at one another, no fight, no. They wanted to, they go I want to ball.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
They were into it, and I'm like, they need that space. And also, the reality is if we think about it, a lot of our anger, if we let it out through the testosterone thing and they exercise and what have you, it kind of helps you self-regulate,
down,
so that's very important. I don't think people take that into consideration. And I am a nutritionist and a personal trainer, which I don't do, but I do have those credentials. I do take that into you have to think of mind, body, spirit, soul, and what have you is very, very important. And that I love. I mean, I can't lie. Now, granted, Saturday morning I'm exhausted, but I got to do what I got to do.
So, I know you got an apartment in New York. It's kind of like you go and recharge a little bit.
Well, I'm supposed to. A lot of times I don't. Because, one trip, not to cut you up, is Danny and his female friend, they wanted to go. And he has the key to the apartment. So he's just like, Dad, can I use the apartment, whatever. Because I can't have anybody sublet. That's part of my lease. I can't sublet or Airbnb. Well, in New York, you can't Airbnb anymore.
Yeah.
So with that being said is, he it's like, man, why don't you just go and don't bring any of those boys? Let's do an adult thing.
Yeah.
So I was almost like, I said, well, if we want to do the adult thing, then I'm not driving.
Yeah.
So I wound up going with them. We wound up going to the rooftop, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And that was good because I didn't have to do the sightseeing thing because he's been there so many times.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to see the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, go on the ferry, all that sort of stuff, World Trade Center, blah, 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 Freedom Tower. Didn't have to do the 50 Cent tour. So it was more like, oh, well, let's just go here.
Yeah.
Now, where my apartment is, it's in Little Haiti.
Okay.
It's Brooklyn, Flatbush. So I'm right on Flatbush Avenue and Newkirk.
Okay.
Newkirk, the train station even says Newkirk, Little Haiti.
Oh, man.
Because it is mostly people from Haiti or Puerto Ricans, and then one part going to Dismas Park is a lot of Jews.
Okay.
So it's very, very mixed. I like that because when I bring the boys especially, it's like I don't have to worry about it because one time we were in a hotel and I had brought some of my boys and I was just watching how people were looking like, who are these people and who's this little white man working with you? And I didn't want that to be put on them and what have you.
Right.
So living here is like they come, they go, they walk down the block to fly. And in New York, you got everything. I stand on my stoop
Yeah.
and I look at a liquor store, a Western Union, across the street a bodega, across the street a bodega, Metro store, a bodega, a bodega, a bodega, a bodega. I don't even know how bodegas survive because they're
Right.
all like next to each other. But the reality is and that's good. So they want something to eat, they just go to the bodega. Like one goes to this one, he gets his bacon egg cheese.
Yeah, bacon,
You know, and the other one wants to
cheese.
get his
Get chopped
cheese.
Yeah.
I don't eat any of that stuff. I'm cool, you know.
I eat all that stuff.
Yeah, see,
ain't
I
gonna
wasn't.
lie
I'm
to
not
you.
in. I'm not into. You know, give me my. I don't drink coffee, but in New York I'll drink Bustelo. I'll drink
Okay,
Spanish
Bustelo,
coffee,
yeah.
and I have my pan dulce, my sweet bread, and I'll dip it in it. Only because I remember when I was younger, when we used to go to my aunt's house, you know, abuela would always make the big thing of coffee, and you had to drink it. Now we little kids,
Right.
we drinking coffee, not, you know, coffee with milk and whatever.
Right.
This is coffee. So I had to sneak and go to the refrigerator and help him
Put a little milk
in it because it's like, this is coffee. And I don't drink coffee really, but I'll do that because it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, you know how you reminisce and certain things, certain smells
Yep.
bring you some of those certain feelings. So getting back to me going to New York is, if it's a new child, a new young adult that I have living in my home, then we'll do the tour.
Okay.
If there's someone who's been there before, then I can trust them staying in the apartment because there's 3 TVs and there's 4 TVs actually in the apartment. There's PlayStation or whatever. So
Yeah.
if I can trust you and you want to stay, fine. If you want to go through
Right.
the tour again and walk over the Brooklyn Bridge and go through the photo ops or whatever, go for it. 9 to 10 they generally want to do it
Right.
anyway, because they know actually we're going to end
Get
up
some eat,
going to Foot Locker, Champs, because they're going to get, what sneakers do you want, hurry up, don't let me see what you're getting, I'll just use my card. You know that sort of mentality, because it's a time.
Right.
It's a time. But I do energize because I do have the opportunity to meet my ex, and so she's married, good friends of mine, and another friend of mine who used to work for me here in Toledo.
Okay.
She's now doing education there. So just meeting with adults and being
Right,
friends and
right.
being able just to go out and eat, have a drink, and reminisce, or just adultering, I guess. Just that. Or let's
Just
go to the
adulting,
rooftop
yeah.
to, you know, one of the bars on the rooftop, which you gotta have that experience. That's an experience itself. Like just looking, you see the Empire State Building and all
Yeah, all
that.
them.
That's a whole different experience, and that's a whole energy vibe. And then it's not just the view, because I've been there, done it.
Right.
It's just the energy. The city of New York has such an energy, and I'm very much into language.
Yeah.
So I like not snooping into conversations, but what I try to pull is like, this person's speaking Spanish, so I can understand the conversation.
What's
They
the
sound like they're
dialect?
speaking, you know, that's Spanish.
Yeah.
They must be visiting from Spain or something. So I like playing that game. Or, you know, that person, wait a minute, they're slurring some of this stuff. That's Guatemalan, because they're trying to do some cochicha, you know, the other language with the Spanish, you know, and I like playing that.
Yeah.
I was in a seminary, I was studying to be a priest.
Okay.
So I do understand Latin roots. So I
Okay.
try to make the Latin root
Yeah.
into what the word may be, and I use what's the word when you have one word and another word and you try to guess what the other word is. I try to do that to try to
Okay.
figure out what they're actually saying and what language it is.
You
I
try to
used
get the roots and
Yeah,
the crossover of the language. Yeah.
you know, the context clues and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and what have you, and that's what helps me. And then I share with them. I was like, you know, here you are, you in this place. When I have the boys, that is, or anybody, as a matter of fact, because I even took a class there.
Okay.
Is just think, all these people from around the world, just count your blessings. Here it is. You live in the United States. You live in Ohio. You're here in New York, not to brag, the
Right.
greatest city in the world. But the reality is, like, there are people from around the world that have saved for years just to come here to be able to be in Times Square
Get
and the
this
lights.
experience.
Or be able to
Yeah.
see, just ride by on the ferry to the Statue of Liberty, or even go into, you know, Lady Liberty, or what have you, or go to Ground Zero to see the Freedom Tower. Just all this, and then, you know, there's the history, but the fact is, you are blessed.
Yes.
This is an experience, and I know, you know, unfortunately, maybe for some that have lived with me, they're probably never going to be able to go again.
Right.
So I want to make sure that you have that experience if I can give it to you.
Right.
And then to me, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a tour guide. So
Right,
it's like, oh,
right.
and then it's okay, so what do you want to see? So one was like, well, I remember seeing Kevin. What's the
Home
movie?
Alone.
Home Alone
yeah.
2.
Yeah, Home Alone.
You know, what about, okay, I'll take you to all those places.
Yeah.
So one day we went to all the places that were in the movie. You know, and of course you end up at the Plaza Hotel and everything.
It's all right.
You know, so then go to Spencer Park. There is no pigeon woman, you know. It doesn't exist. But there was somebody who actually used to feed the pigeons.
Yeah.
But now it's become so busy.
Right.
It's different. But just seeing that and then walking down Fifth Avenue, because of course there's so much into name brands. Oh, that's the Gucci store. Oh, that's the Louis Vuitton store. Oh, that's the store. Can we go in there? Heck no.
Right, we do what?
I paying $800 for a book bag. And we're going to Chinatown to get the knockoff.
Get the knockoff.
I'll pay $60 for the thing. You know,
Well, they got
we'll do what we
Canal
got to
Street
do,
or
but that ain't
somewhere.
happening, player. No. I don't have that in this pocket.
I heard that.
But you know, and then when they come back, you know, you got some that are gonna perp with their little Louis Vuitton or their Gucci bag, and,
Right.
you know, or that fake Sergio Ferragamo belt or whatever. You know, it is what it is. But the fact is just having that opportunity.
experience,
but what
yeah.
what I do teach them, and I really feel good about it. Some people might look at it weird, but I have one young man that when we go down, he's like, no. Because I told him the first time, I said, you know, you take some of your money, your little bills in one pocket, your bigger bills in the other pocket. And he goes, I always wonder why you do that. I said, I always. Little bills are here, bigger bills are here. And then, of course, I hide the other ones in my sock.
Yeah.
So just learned that. And so what happened is I said, when you go down there, if they're going to say, here, this bag or whatever is $80, you come out like, you know for a fact they did not pay no damn $80 for it. So you come out and go into your little pocket, and you might say, oh, I only have 40.
Yeah.
Oh, well. And the dude might say, oh, no, it's 80. You go, well, thanks very much.
All right, man.
I'll walk away. 8 out of 10 times, the guys, well, no, come back.
Right,
I'll take
right,
the 40. I'll take the
Give me
40.
the 40 out,
So
yeah.
it's funny. I have one kid that what he does is anybody that's new, he's like, no. What you need to, so he does that.
Yeah,
So
he's schooling
he
them,
actually,
yeah.
he's a conniver.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is he's from Guatemala.
Okay.
I had him since he was 16. He's now 19, getting ready to emancipate.
Okay.
And that's a whole other story, which was a blessing when I got him, even though it was through something bad. He has gotten so much into it, he's like, no. What you do? So he even goes, no, I'm cool. Thank you very much. No. And he'll walk away.
Right.
And it's kind of funny. So I love those stories. You know, just those little things make it worthwhile.
Little life lessons.
Yeah. And I got him. He was something. The Belief Center had just gotten into doing the mental health and the navigating to mental health services and a lot within the Hispanic, because we had just started it. So with that being said is, Children's Services had called me, and I didn't want any more kids at the time because there was just so much on my plate at that time. I was like, you know what, I can't take another behavior specific, or now you got to take them to therapy, now you got to take, or transportation's not put in place, so you got to drive them to whatever is homeschools, just all that. So I'll never forget, God bless her, because I love her to death, Jackie from C.A.S.A, and she used to work with me at Connecting Point. So she's like, Vinny, you got to do me a personal favor. I got this kid. I was like, you know, I'll do it for you.
Right.
So she goes, I got this kid from Guatemala. He doesn't speak a word of English. So I'm thinking, okay. She goes, you're the only person that we know that can speak Spanish, and you know what he may need.
Right.
So when he came, this poor young boy at the time didn't speak a word of English.
Not a word of English. Man.
Not a word of English. So I'm doing my Spanglish because I'm semi-fluent.
Okay.
I speak Puerto Rican, and we speak kind of like sloppy in Spanish.
Yeah.
And so with that, and then he's Guatemalan, so some of the, you know, they do another thing, and they don't speak too much Spanish.
Okay.
They really speak, I think it's called Conchinchen or whatever it is, but it's another dialect, which is not Spanish. So communicating with him, so we communicated. But the funny thing is, he came at the time that I had to learn, you know, the mental health system, no insurance, underdocumented, and he's all of them.
Yeah.
Because what happened is, he came here illegally, but he's now in the process, so I'm not setting him up for ICE or any of that sort of thing.
Right.
But more importantly is, long story short, is he had fallen through the roof, broke his back or whatever, and so there was that case and everything. When he was in the hospital, they found out he was an adult, and that's when they called CSB. CSB then called me. So I've gone through the whole process, helping him get his Social Security, being, you know, legal and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, God has, you know, his ways of doing things. It was just perfect timing. I didn't want it because I didn't want to have to deal with it. And I wasn't saying anything about him. I just didn't want another kid.
Yeah, where it was at.
But when he came, I needed it because it was a learning experience for me to learn the system and then how I can relate with some of our clients. This is frustrating. Like, this is really fun. You know, and just think, like, we had to have an interpreter because I was not allowed to interpret.
Okay.
When he went to the doctors, I was not allowed to interpret. So you had to have that little iPad interpreter thing, and or have an interpreter. So that in itself is so, you know, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to learn that. And so I was able to advocate for now the clients that we have now, like, you know, no, we need to have someone who speaks Spanish.
So
we
now
need to
you
have
know
someone
the
that's
whole
bilingual.
process
now,
from doing it personally. Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have many bilingual people here in Toledo, which is difficult. But I'm blessed, and I knock on wood every day, here's what's funny. The interpreter that was hired to interpret it for him while he was in placement, I wound up hiring her.
Oh, okay.
She's a behavior specialist because she used to work for Adelante. And God is truly good. She already knows the system.
Right.
She's certified Supreme Court and everything.
Then,
So when she came, she already knew. And here is we're starting programs. She already knew. She knew him. We were able to get him into programs. Zip, go back and forth to Cleveland, get his paperwork and everything. And I'm like, you know, that's why I guess I'm here.
Man.
Because, you know, long story short, obviously, like I said earlier.
So you learned on the fly, but you
I do not want to be in Toledo because to me, Ohio, first of all, was kind of like, I'm from New York.
Right.
Ohio? Now I got to say, my license is now Ohio? I still got my New York ID, by the way.
Okay.
Because in the city of New York, you can have a city ID, and I had that because that gets you free into the museums and stuff like that. So I still have that with my address in New York.
Yeah.
So at least I still got my part in New York.
Right.
But now I come to the realization that I'm an Ohioan.
Yeah.
Because more than half of my
been
life.
Here, been a long time.
Yeah, more than half of my life. Before I used to play it off like, oh well, most of my life was in New York.
Yeah.
Now most of my life is here, so this is home.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, there's blessings.
Yeah, so
you know, there's a lot of work still be done, but a lot has happened.
So you've been doing a lot, like even stuff that you probably won't have a chance to cover in this sitting, but like, so I call this 2 cups. So it's one for the wake, one for the work. Like the wake is like what's inspiring you, what's motivating you, what are you grateful for, and then the work, like where you see yourself like pressing towards in the near future. Like, so you're about to be 70 years old. I know you say you not have no thoughts about retiring, but what do you want to see, like, as far as like before, you know, you sit down and on your stoop and say, you know, I did a good job?
What I want is the city of Toledo. Now I'm going to use the Believe Center as the thing that the Believe Center can grow, which we are by leaps and bounds, but more that. And I'm going to step back in time. In New York, there's a place called The Door, a Center of Alternatives. I was part of that whole process. NBC Studios gave the facility, which was a whole block.
Okay.
Because that was the studios that they did all the recording. They gave it to the center. And what I want to see for Toledo is more like a one-stop shop where we be able to do everything.
Okay.
So there, they have doctors that volunteer. It's also social workers, whatever, through NYU, because that's one of the schools I went to. You know, through NYU, through some Mount Sinai Medical Center. Well, St. Vincent's Hospital doesn't exist anymore, but the hospital systems all donated that.
Okay.
Lawyers did pro bono work, like how we have ABLE or what have
Right.
you here. You know, so they did that. A lot of tenants' rights, we had that. So when you walked into this big, and you know New York is like a loft mentality, so
Right.
everything, you know, was just like you just look. Everything was there. So what I would love to see before I finally sit down, and I won't drink the coffee, but I'll sit down and maybe have a cup of coquito or something, or do my little screwdriver, is, you know, look at, it's finally there, where you could feel, whoever you are,
Right.
background, any barriers, you could walk in there and you know you're going to be serviced. And what your needs are, if it's not there, then you know they'll be able to direct you to wherever your needs will be.
Yeah.
We're kind of there right now because we do the navigating,
Right.
but unfortunately, you know, we don't have all those connections, and a lot of people don't realize what we do.
Right.
Because the Believe Center originally, and thank you to Tanya Duran, who actually was the foundress, it was more sports, and we still have that because we're not going to lose the mission, but we're also looking at more of that holistic approach.
Okay.
You could play, you could do sports, but then there's some other issues. So if we deal with these issues, trauma, et cetera,
Right.
and making sure that you're comfortable housing, then you'll excel more in your sports because you
Right.
won't have to worry about those problems.
Definitely.
So it's a scale. And so getting back to what I would really like is being able to say that we've done it, that there is a facility, whether it's to Believe or whether we happen to be connected, collaborating with
Right.
another entity. I don't believe in silos, so it doesn't matter to me. It's more a question of like, What can we do?
What's the
and
best
let's make
for
sure
the-
we have it.
yeah.
I would like to see that. I would also like that all my sons and my grandchildren, they're all doing well.
Yeah.
That there's no issues, and knock on wood, I don't have any concerns with my grandkids, and some of them doing really, really well. One's a gym teacher,
Yeah.
my grandson in one of the charter schools. So good things are happening. That I know that when I rest my head on my pillow at night and I finish saying my prayers, that they're all doing well. That I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about, like, oh my God, I hope so-and-so gets out of rehab, or, all that crazy sort
for
of stuff,
sure.
or so-and-so's still locked up, because I just had one of my sons who made poor choices, who's now actually finally doing whatever he needs to be doing. And, I want to have that feeling. So that's that.
Yeah.
You asked me another question. I completely forgot what it was. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, like, where would you like to see? That was good, like, as far as for you to be like, I did my job, So that was.
But not to cut you. But to be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to stop. And I'm not trying to sound selfish or Mr. Your Vin Dog's going to. It's not that. It's more a question like, I'm trying to think. Then what would I do? I'm not a person who's going. Oh well, I'm going to go on a cruise or anything. I don't like cruises.
Okay.
So it's not like that. It's not like, oh, I'm going to see the world. I'm cool.
Right.
And especially the state that we're in right now, I don't want to leave the contiguous United States.
Right.
But I'm sure things will change. But I have no desire to really do any of the traveling. I've been fortunate enough to the United States. I've been traveling. I meet a lot of people, a lot of experience and stuff. My best travel is when I go to Puerto Rico. I'm fine. That I go alone.
Yeah.
I don't take anybody when I go, because that's when it's, Vicente is going to do what he wants to do. And like the last trip I went, I didn't even let family members know I was even on the island. I just basically just went. I went to the beach.
Yeah.
I went to the club, had a few drinks, socialized, blah, 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 ate food, and walked.
Yeah.
I didn't even rent a car or anything. I just walked, because just sucking in, just the beauty, that's probably what I'll do. I'm not going to, but I don't think I think if I'm going to retire, it'd probably be because, it's a health-related sort of issue. To be very candid with you, that's how I feel right now, because I'll be bored.
Right.
Like, what am I going to do?
So you can't see yourself just chilling. I know my wife.
No, I
talked
can't
about,
see.
We talked about retirement before, and I'm like, kind of what her idea was, and probably what mine is. Like, I don't think I could just do that. Like, sit there.
Yeah, because like my son even said, you're like, well, you're going to be 70, so you can't be doing this forever. And I'm like, okay, so if I do hypothetically retire, what am I going to do?
Right. You're not going to just sit around.
My body's automatically programmed that I get up at 5 in the morning. I can't stop that. I get up at 5.
Yeah.
I could go out drinking or partying or whatever the case may be. It's 3 o'clock. I'll still go home and I'll be up at 5. That's just part of it. I know, okay, I got to do this, and I'm used to, okay, you got to get this done. The Franklin Planner? That's my life.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why I said I didn't look at it. My day is already like, okay, from this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. You want to do this, you want to do this, you want to accomplish this. And then the joke is I always wear shirts with collars and a pocket. I took it out because I know it was coming in here, so it's on the car. But I generally have a Post-it, and it's like, these are your priorities for today.
Okay.
And that's it. So I'm so accustomed to that that I
your
can't.
rhythm, yeah.
I can't think of, oh well, maybe I'll get out of the bed if I want to get out of the bed. Well, my dog is going to wake me up, so I know I'm going to get up.
So I'm up.
So I'm thinking like, But who knows? Maybe come down the pike when I'm 90 or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe it might
sure.
be, Vinny, you're a little frail here. I don't know. All kidding aside, but at this point, as long as my family and friends are doing well, that the business, the Believe Center, and then Youth Community Connections, which is my nonprofit, with the house, that these young men, that they're, whoever's there right now, they transition out, they finally get their own place. Because right now they basically have the room and they share the whole house.
Right.
The house like your young man is, that's a 5-bedroom house, but we're utilizing 4.
Okay.
There's 2 bathrooms in there, and so their life is, kind of like a dorm experience. But I know that you're probably going to eventually want your own place or space. So my job is to help you build that, getting used to, and then also the fact is that I can be your landlord. And when you're ready to go, obviously a landlord's going to say, well, I need a reference. That I can do that. That's the whole purpose and rationale. But also teaching you, what it's like to live on your own, so to speak. Like, for example, the other one just got a hold of me and was like, well, I think there's a mouse in the house. I said, yeah, because they're doing construction next door, and I told you those dishes in the sink, you got to make sure they're out. The other thing is, did you leave the window? Oh, well, the window, if there's construction, they're going to go where the heat is. So they're like, oh, Orkin, can you do me a favor and go to the house? you know, just things like that. Like you got to learn
Got to.
certain things,
Definitely.
you know, when you live on your own. So there's that.
Man, that's inspiring though. Like, cause you know I'm 50, so you know.
So you young buck.
Yeah, but that's inspiring to hear you say that, right? I'm like, when somebody say you still young, I'm like, tell that to my left knee. But no, but that's inspiring because, like, I think we in the Midwest, we have like a retirement mentality. I don't know if it's because of the factories or whatever, but it's like you dedicate 30 years or something, and then you retire and you go fishing or whatever. But it's like inspiring to hear you saying like, I'm 70 years old, but I can't see myself just sitting around, because it's like, do you ever really retire from like your life's work or your passion or that calling that you have, like initially from God, like he put something in you and you like, I got to keep doing it.
Well, I feel it's my vocation.
Yeah.
You know, it's more vocation. But then I think also I probably can allude back to just the New York experience, or what we call the New York state of mind. Is if I think of any of my friends that I still communicate with from college, everybody's still busy.
Yeah.
Like, I just communicated with a friend of mine from college, so he's close to my age.
Yeah.
He's now down in Dallas. He did retire from the police force, but now his wife, they got another joint venture, so something else that they're into right now. And I'm thinking like, there's that. I call it the New York state of mind, where it's like we are so ingrained in just hustling and bustling that I don't know. I think it's part of the joke is like, man, it's in your DNA.
Yeah.
And I think there's that. And I also think the other thing is there's still a lot more to accomplish, and I really want to make sure that I'm fortunate and blessed to see the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
But I feel that, okay, God, I need a little more fruits.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
However that can be explained. But
I like that, man. I mean, like we leave it from this conversation, I feel like I have another, like, that's why I do this, because I have conversations with people, learn their life stories, but then I also glean from, like, okay, he's 70, but he's still running the race. So it's like I can't, like, this fills me up. Like, it recharges me just to hear, like, what you're doing and your day. And, 'cause, like, to some other person might be like, oh, he's doing too much, or it sounds like chaos. But I can see, like, exactly, like, what you're doing. And I can, like, imagine, like, your day. And I'm like, okay, that make my day feel like, when I have those days, I'm like, well, I know it's somebody else out there having the same kind of day or more hectic day than me, and you still have that smile on your face, and you still give people an encouraging word, or somebody call you. Like, sometimes I might text you like, hey, I got a young man, he's thinking about this, and you'll hit me back. But it's like, that puts, like I said, one for the wait, one for the work. That puts that work in me, like I can keep going. And that's why, like, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but that's why I have these conversations, because this is, like, it fuels me too, just to hear.
Well,
like,
I appreciate
like
that,
your
because I
story.
take that as a compliment,
Yeah.
and most definitely thank you. Like I said earlier, I can't see myself as just sitting. I mean, the reality is, even in my house, I just don't sit. When I get home, it's late anyway. But even, God is good. I have a nice home, well, both. The joke is, like, I don't even know how to work the TV, not to sound retarded or anything. I don't even bother.
Right.
Because I don't watch TV.
Right.
And, I don't. Like, I even cut the cable because the boys use, they do
YouTube
Netflix
and all that,
Hulu,
yeah.
Zulu, and all this other crap. Whatever, so it's like, why bother? As long as there's Wi-Fi in the house, they're happy.
Right.
But I don't watch TV. It's not like I'm not into it. I just don't have time. And yeah, I'm not into it. I got other things to do. And I'm not saying that my life is always busy, because there's times when I go home, and I'll just sit in the living room,
Just
lights
enjoy that
out, and
peace,
just
yeah.
woosah, like, okay, well, I'll just sit actually like this, and just, just look at the ceiling.
Yeah.
The designs, because OSN always has stuff on the ceiling. Not to be funny, but I'll do that, and then, like, okay, Vinny, what did you accomplish today? What's your positive and what's your negative? What did you learn from today? I have to do my self-reflection, because sometimes when I feel like, damn, I don't think I accomplished anything today. But meanwhile, when I look at it, it's like, okay, no, you went to juvenile court, you did 2 surrogate things, you were at Woodward, you were at Westfield. I'm in Westfield all the time.
Yeah, Westfield, yeah.
Because it's behavior specific. But And then, okay, you had to leave a few times, you had a staff meeting, you did this, you did that. And I might say to myself, so what did I really accomplish? Well, wait a minute, those are accomplishments.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had to kind of like stop and say, well, okay, don't be doing so much, you know, because I have to self-check myself. And then, of course, I'm fortunate that I do have people who check me. My office administrator, God bless her, I love her to death. And it's funny how God reconnected us. And if there's time, I'll even share that quick story. But she'll go, no, Dr. Vinnie, why don't you just go to your office?
Yeah.
I'll handle this, or whatever. Or you know what, if you want, like we got this. Like for example, I was never able or felt comfortable. I was always able, but I was never felt comfortable to leave the agency.
Okay.
So I was like, no, I'm not gonna go to New York this weekend, or okay, it just happened to be a holiday weekend, so we're closed. So I don't know about what's going on. Well, now it's like I felt comfortable.
You can
whole
leave,
Christmas week I left.
Yeah.
And I had staff that knew what was doing.
Yeah, y'all had snow and everything out there when you went.
So I was like, okay, this is cool, and just deal and focus with, okay, what are we gonna have for dinner today, fellas? Do you want to go into the city? Do you want to go up the block? Do you want me to cook?
Right.
Of course, they always wanted to go to the city. I don't know. Everybody wants to be in Times Square for some reason.
Yeah, man.
You're like this. It's Christmas. You're walking through people like this, like shoving.
Right.
But they want it because they do. Hey, look. You know, whether it's TikTok or whatever the heck this thing is,
Instagram,
or Live or whatever.
Snapchat.
All that crap. But I mean, but that's all good. But anyway, I have to self-check. But getting back to her, God bless Miss Kathy is her name. I hired her, and this is so weird. Once again, God has a plan.
Yeah.
I had met her way back when Aurora Academy. This is 2000. Yeah, Aurora Academy was probably about 2000.
Okay.
1999.
Yeah.
And so her husband owned a car dealer that was on Star Avenue. I had an accident, and my insurance broker, I was like, okay, I'm new, I don't know what. So he sent me to this car dealer, which was Star.
Okay.
Which was Dan Ars was the name. In turn, they moved and they went out to Oregon. AAA bought them. They sold to AAA and everything.
Okay.
So now what happened is I was looking for a business office, someone to start doing the books and everything, because we were starting getting ready more real money.
Okay.
Because the mental health board approached us and some other things. And I was doing it, but there's no way I could do it. That's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
Math, I hate. And then having to make sure juggling and this, and still do what I needed to do.
Right.
It just wasn't working. So somehow or another, she had gotten word. She had just turned like 65,
Okay.
got onto Medicare, got a hold of me like, I don't need health insurance because now I got this, and I don't like my job.
Yeah.
Where she was at. She was just doing it just for the benefits. So she came and said, God sent me here. And I was thinking to myself, and she goes, and I was like, well, I know her, and she's got the experience. I was like, you're hired.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing. Now we're going on probably the 3rd year.
Wow.
My books, I can text right now and say, in grant such and such, what was the spend down and what are we up to right now and what's the bank account and what was the last receipts? She can
come right back.
Send it to me. Well, before I'd be like, hold on. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I mean,
exactly what you said.
That's a good state of mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I want to give her accolade. You know, I want to thank her. God bless her.
Yeah.
She's also a very spiritual woman too. But she's the one who actually put. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not too far from me, as far as age is concerned. But she checks me, and you know, and you need that.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
you need that, and that helps me. And then of course my son Danny gets on my case. Man, you're getting too old for this stuff. You need to, you know, you worry about everybody else. What about you and all that stuff? I'm like, Danny, stop, stop. But that does get, you know, even though he might think that I'm not listening to him, it does hit me. But it's like, but you're not understanding, son. My mission is not over.
Right.
You know how Jesus, you know, he was crucified at 33. I'm not 33 yet. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it's like I still need to do what I still need to do. Now I don't know when the ending of that to do is, but I know that my goal is I want this like I said, you know, the one-stop shop. I want to make sure that all people are able to get what they need, medical benefits, housing, you know, just at least know where to go. And the biggest problem we have right now is obviously the language barrier.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest barriers. And then unfortunately we're dealing with, you know, whether you're documented, undocumented, are you able to get this and that.
Yeah.
You know, that's a problem in itself, and that's a headache.
It's a lot of red tape right now.
Yeah, and you know, and it affects me tremendously for my agency, because the fact is a lot of the clientele that we were working with were, and now everybody's just closed door.
Or hiding out.
Yeah, because of what it is, and I can understand and appreciate it, because to be very honest with you is one of the reasons why I had gotten one of the other houses across the street was the goal was to help you find
Right.
housing, and in the interim, while we're trying to get
Get
you
your
a space,
paperwork and
at least
stuff,
you got a place, a roof over your head. But that's neither here nor there. But you know, we could complain about everything, but I truly believe that, you know, there's a reason for everything. I can't let it put me down,
No, for sure.
because if I do, then I'm just gonna wallow in tears, so to speak, and that's not beneficial. It's not beneficial for those people around me, and it's most definitely not beneficial for me, spiritual-wise,
Right.
emotionally, and physically. You know, I need the positivity. I need to know, okay, this isn't working. What can we do to make this work?
Right. No.
Or if I don't know what, you know, I know someone, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Let me call George over at blah, 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 blah. Or let me call, you know, Hector over at blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
see, you know, we got to do that. And the silos have come down. The joke is, because I have a meeting tonight in one of the boards, and I started the conversation saying, you know, I remember before, like, if you were on the, like, if you were near the Frederick Douglass, then you didn't talk to, like, say, the Believe or
Right.
whatever, or the LaGrange, because there was always those zones, like, stay in your lane mentality,
right,
and there was
right.
those silos. The bricks have come out. So I don't
It's a
see as much
blessing.
silos in Toledo, and that's very enlightening to help me do what I need to do.
Yeah, I think people are really
No, we're
more open to
communicating,
collaborative
yeah.
efforts now.
And
Yeah.
then also, the Believe, we started what we call round table,
Okay.
where we have all mental health agencies or social service providers, we meet once a month, and like, what are you doing?
Right.
What's working for you? And then someone might say, well, you know, I really have this, but we don't, oh, by the way, so-and-so over there, you know, and that's what needs to happen. And that's what our goal is, making sure that, like I said earlier, is everybody knows where to go.
Right.
If you need help, assistance, or whatever. And I'm not trying to say that, you know, we're going to be the place or the space that's always going to point you to whatever, but
You
more
know,
question
be
that
one of
there'll
them
be,
at least, yeah.
there'll be the mindset at least that people know, like, oh, well, there's some place.
I can get some help. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Because unfortunately, there's some people that almost like that recluse sort of mentality, like, nadie sabe que me dicen, no one understands what I'm saying, so, you know, I'm just not going to say anything.
Right.
And that's problematic in itself. You know, that's an issue. So we need to make sure that we have that taken care of. And we're beginning to work on that.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, I'm so used to going in my pocket for the phone, but we have the phone where, you know, you could always do Google Translate
Right,
and what
right.
have you. But the funny thing is, you know, it might get the gist, but sometimes, for example, I'll share my Spanish. Yo soy Puertorriqueño, I'm Puerto Rican. But if I'm talking to someone, let's say, that is from, Mexican, some of my words may be difficult. When I came here was a shock, because I remember I was like, oh my God, I want some Spanish food. There's got to be a Spanish.
Right.
And I knew that there was a store over because I had Aurora Academy, over what's the street? I can't remember the name of the street. Near on the east side. I can't remember the name. My mind's blank right now.
I know it's
but there's a Spanish store
it's
over
on
there.
Oak Street. I know one.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Right on the corner. Hernandez, Lorenzo, was one of the
Oak
Spanish
and
things.
Navarre right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So I went to go there, and I'll never forget, I went in, and I was looking for, you know, plátanos, the green bananas.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it, but see, in Puerto Ricans, we wait till they're almost black.
Okay.
We don't buy them green.
The green ones.
We
yeah.
buy them when they're yellow, and almost, because the darker they are, the sweeter
Sweeter
they are.
there, yeah.
So I was looking for that, so tú tienes plátanos? She goes, huh? So I looked and I saw the bananas, they were green. I said, but tú no tienes? And she goes, that's what we have. So I figured, okay, I'll just buy them, let them sit on the counter and get whatever. Then I was like, okay, do you have any Goya products? ¿Tú tienes sazón? And she's like, looking at me, ¿qué? And I'm thinking, like, this is a Spanish store, Goya.
Right.
Well, in New York, everything is Goya, you know?
Right.
And I'm thinking, like, what the hell? Like, did I
Yeah.
just go into the Twilight Zone?
Right, what's going
You're a
on?
Spanish store. So I'm thinking, like, so I go, okay. So she shows me something else. I'm like, I never saw this. I'm not buying this. I don't know what the heck this is. You know, I'm so accustomed to what I'm accustomed to. So the big thing was, I go, pero tú tienes frutas, tú tienes quenepas? And she's like, quenepas? Now, quenepas, I don't know if you're familiar with there, but it's a fruit that grows in Puerto Rico. They're about this big. They're green with a tough skin. So you take your teeth jelly and you peel the skin off,
Okay.
and it's a nut, but it's fuzzy and it almost tastes like a peach and a mango together.
never had that.
They're called quenepas.
Okay.
So I was looking for that because I was craving it. And she goes, no. I said, okay, well, it is what it is. So then the last thing I was like, tú tienes pasteles? And so she points me to cake. Because Mexicans call pastel is cake.
It's cake, yeah.
No, we call it bizcocho.
Okay.
So I'm looking at her like, I'm speaking Spanish. I know what I'm saying.
Right.
You're pointing me to cake. I said, yo no quiero dulce. I don't want anything sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, ¿Es esa pastel? I'm like, no, pasteles. And she goes, I'm like, oh no, let me get out of here. So I paid for whatever the bananas and whatever else I had, and I left. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's like, no, you idiot, don't you know, blah, 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 blah. You know? And so Mexicans would say beans, frijoles. We call them habichuelas. So I had to learn, like, be careful who you're talking to, because some of the things don't actually equate. And that was a revelation. That, you know, here it is, we're speaking the same language, but we're not speaking the same language.
Different definitions.
Because different dialects or different, you know, different things. And then, of course, you know, we got some slang words that, you know,
only specific
you know,
to
if I go into Harlem, into my own neighborhood, I can say certain things. And there I feel very comfortable speaking Spanish, because actually we don't look at grammar or syntax. We just say the words.
Right.
So,
that's what
and
I'm
you
saying.
just know. Well, some people want to make sure, did you talk in the past tense, the perfect tense? Did you use, you know, I don't have time for that. I don't remember that. You know, do I have to say, you know, A-I? You know, I don't remember that. I'll just say whatever.
Right.
Get the gist. Let's move on. So it's different. It's a different world. But that in itself. So going back to the main thing is, I just hope and pray that people can begin to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Not feel obviously the language barrier. But also the other thing is, what I help teach this is not just the language, but also the culture. Understanding the culture, because there's a nuance with the culture, and you have to be cognizant of it. Like when you go into a house, if we go into a Hispanic house, you know, obviously you know that it's very matriarchal, but it's the husband who runs the thing. But the bottom line is it's the woman who says everything. You know, if you go into an Oriental household, then there's a whole different thing. You know, make sure that you don't have your heads down and everything. I know one of the things when I went to the reservation, my mother made sure that we went to the reservation to see the Cherokee thing. And that I learned, like, you're not supposed to look at the older men. Like, your head had to be down.
Okay.
And so just learning some of these different cultural things, you know, that's very, very important. But you also have to learn cultural empathy and understanding. So someone could speak Spanish, but you might not be culturally competent.
Right.
You know, we have people who learn Spanish, or any language for that matter. I'm just, because I relate to Hispanic. But any language for that matter, but you might not understand the culture.
Right.
So, you know, going into a household, there's different things like I alluded to earlier, you know, we do food.
Right.
That's a cultural thing. You know, so you have to be understanding of what the culture is and what may be misconstrued from people as maybe disrespectful.
Right.
Or you really don't care. So you have to be culturally competent, culturally empathetic, and culturally understanding, not just the language. And I'm glad that I'm beginning to see some of that in a lot of the agencies, especially the mental health agencies like Zeph, Harbor, you know, whatever we can ramble off, that they're actually making sure that, you know, staff persons are more cognizant of that. And that's very important, because we're trying to get people help. But if you don't...
If you offend them, then now
it's like, I'm not to be rude or anything, but in Spanish we say, vete pa carajo, that means go to hell. Like, vete pa carajo, you no sabe, you know, go to hell, like, just leave me alone, because you don't understand.
You don't understand.
We're not connected.
You can't help me if you don't understand.
Right, and that's very, very important. So I'm glad, I feel truly blessed that fortunately God has put me here where, you know, my background is, you know, the Hispanic, the Italian, and then, you know, we'll say your typical Anglo, because that's what I was raised from birth to 6.
Okay.
I lived in that household where they were upper middle income. He taught at Brooklyn Law School. She was an executive secretary for a private school.
Okay.
Nothing we ever had to worry about ever having. We were the first people on the block to have a car, first people on the block to have a color TV. So you know how old I am when we're talking that stuff. You know, so with that, you know, I grew up in that, and then moving into, you know, roach-infested tenements, people that were all different colors. I didn't see anybody with blue eyes in my neighborhood, so I was feeling like an alien. You know, sort of like that thing. And I guess, you know, obviously that's sort of maybe trauma when we really look at it, but I feel that happening helped make me the man that I am today.
Gave you that social fabric to be able to...
So that makes me, that made me who I am right now.
Right.
Because I was fortunate to be able to see both worlds, all worlds, so to speak, and begin to understand the similarities, the differences, the expectations that are put upon us, and be able to see society-wise what society is expecting versus, you know, family and all that sort of stuff. So I feel truly, I feel, as I sit here, I count my blessings daily.
Definitely
Sometimes on Facebook, I even do that when I'm, my moments, when I'm like this.
Yeah.
That's when I go on Facebook, it's like, I think of a saying or something, and I'll help them post it or put it on the, what's the thing on the top? Story?
Yeah, the story, yeah.
I'll do the story thing where it's like, you know, I want people to know, like, you know, sometimes you need to stop and smell the roses or count your blessings.
Yes, for
because
sure.
I mean, many people are doing good things, some people are doing bad things, but the fact is you still have to look at, you know, you have to take that breath.
Yes, sir.
And realize, like, hold on for a minute. You know, let me just hold on and let me just woosah.
Yeah.
And think of why are you doing what you're doing? And that's a question that always goes through me, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And I have to think, like, I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I just know that I have to do it. I know that
you've been doing it. You've been doing it.
Yeah, it's like if someone says, okay, so Vinnie, why are you on this board? Why are you on this board? Why are you on this board? Why you are, you know, the surrogate? Why you are C.A.S.A? You know, why are you the executive director for this agency, executive for this agency, and then also have my for-profit, my consulting thing. You know, you're doing all that. That's a lot of plates to be spinning. And when I sit back and think about it, it's like, well, I can't think of anything else to do.
Right.
You know, each thing can complement one of the others, but it also gives me the experience. But more importantly is my name is known. And I'm not trying to be vain or naive or whatever, but the fact is I feel comfortable that, you know, in my mind, it's like, if I know that this is the best thing, or make a recommendation in reference to a family I'm working with or a child I'm working with, I know that I'm going to be respected or heard at least.
For sure.
Because, like, wait a minute, Vinny's either been there, done that, or I know that he does this and I know that he does that. And like I said earlier, I count my blessings because of that. But also, look, this is 40, it was like 40 years. Yeah. 87, I'm not doing the math right, but the fact is,
it's almost 40
that's
years.
a long time when you really, 39 years. That's a long time. Didn't realize that.
Yeah, man.
But it took time, you know.
Yeah, so.
Even though my sons get mad when I go, like I said earlier, going to Walmart, and I only went to walk in, and meanwhile 5 aisles, I've stopped already 5 times.
You sitting here talking like 20 minutes, 30 minutes,
Even in the parking lot. I'm unloading. What's up, Vin Dog? How you doing, man? Is it basketball tonight? Yeah. Mr. Vinny, do you know anybody that's hiring right now? I need to go. Now it's a conversation. And my kids are like, can we just go?
We gotta go.
Can we go? You know,
Man,
but then I go back to him. I was like, I'll never forget. I had my other son, God bless him, but he actually hurt me when he said what he said, and I had to kind of check him, and then he turned it around. But I'll never forget. I had a foster son that was really problematic, and you know you could relate. This one came in with a gun. Someone came to the house, getting ready to try to shoot him. I called the agency, shared with them. I found the gun. I called the police. Police are like, so what are we supposed to do with it? I'm like, the gun's in my house. Now, I'm like, look, it's got an extended clip. Obviously, this gun had intentions to be used. It's not a toy. And the officer's looking at me, so what am I supposed to do with it? I'm like, you could take it. And maybe, don't you people like fingerprint it or see or whatever? He goes, well, we'll just take it and just put it into the evidence room or something like that. I'm thinking like, that's it. But the attitude he had with me was like, you're bothering us.
Now, I'm like, calling me for this for?
I'm like, I got to get this out of my house. I'm a foster home. I don't even own a weapon in my own house. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I need this gun. And the other thing is, the kid knew I found it, so he was not coming back. Now, mind you, while I'm talking to the officer, he's in the corner behind that abandoned church that's in the corner of Delaware. And I'm looking like this. And I'm saying, officer, and he's like, well, there's not much I can do about it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, okay. So I go back, and my son made a comment. He goes, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I'm going to quote him. Dad, man, I don't know why you still deal with these fucking niggas and what have you. Excuse me, but I'm quoting, so I apologize. Bloop, bloop, bloop. You know, why are you dealing with this and blah, blah, blah. You know, you really shouldn't be dealing with foster kids and everything. And I looked at him and I was like, stop right there. I said, son, can I ask you something? Let's go back 10 years ago. Where were you? Well, what do you mean? Think about it. I adopted you. You were a foster kid. I fell in love with you and you became part of our family. We are one.
Right.
I said, so you got to think that maybe what he's doing, not that you were that bad,
Right.
but the fact is he's making some poor choices. Maybe what he needs is just some guidance.
Right.
I said, so please don't do that. And he goes, well, you really shouldn't be doing this anymore. I said, so then that means maybe if I had someone 10 years before you who said the same thing, then maybe I would have never met you.
Right.
I said, so you got to think of something like that. And then he turned around and he goes, you know, you're right, I apologize.
Yeah.
Because initially I took that like, who the think you talking to like
Right,
that?
right,
Like,
right.
you know, do you realize how blessed you are in all essence? But then that gave me a reality check. Like, it's like, you know what? You know, people are people.
I
and you
will
just
say
gotta-
though that the judicial system, the education system, police, everything is a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like a foster home, a group home, they have to deal with more extreme behaviors from a standpoint where you don't really have the judicial input because they have so many kids doing more extreme things. That's something that was extreme
Back in the
15
day,
years
yeah.
ago. Now it's like, you know, you stole a car, but now they letting you out the same day. But back then it used to be,
You would
know,
stay there
you
when we
would
had
sit there,
CSI.
CSI, be a whole process. So I can see it's challenging.
It is.
It's challenging, but
and then you think of, and if you think of even what you do, and me as a treatment home, if we went back years ago, and I'm talking years ago, when Judge Ray was at the bench and Judge Flores was at the bench, and CSI was around, and we had the magistrates right there in that building of CSI, we used to have weekend. They would go to CSI for the weekend.
Yeah.
I remember that, and that's when I was a volunteer probation officer, as a matter of fact. But now, if we look at like a treatment home, what I feel is, remember we used to have mommy youth camp and a lot more of these camps, the DYS camps, of which they kind of like dissolved a lot of them because now it's trying to keep them home.
Yeah, trying to do
you
more,
know, a lot more
yeah.
holistic sort of stuff and what have you.
least restrictive environment.
Yeah, least restrictive. Thank you. Least restrictive environments. So a lot of treatment homes actually, when you would have a person that would go into the treatment center, now because they're YTC, they're now really going into like treatment homes because then you got the harder ones who really should be sent to DYS are now in YTC.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything bad about the system. It's just evolved differently.
Yeah, they have to just deal with so
you know,
much. Yeah.
And then you also, and quite candidly, let's be realistic, it's also a money thing. And I'm not trying to say people are out to make money. It's how much money can be given to whatever entity to help support those things. I mean, I know when I go upstairs into JDC and I look like, damn, I remember before CSI, there was mats on the floor. This place was full. And now you go into, you see a unit that's closed, another unit is closed. I'm thinking like, but this facility, you know, they could have, but then, you know, look at the manpower and probation. Is there enough people to actually, when they get released, you're gonna be able to have probation?
Yeah, it's definitely
You know,
layered.
it's
You know,
a lot.
definitely layered.
It's a lot. But I do remember those days. And the funny thing is that we're having this conversation. I had this maybe about a month ago. Where I was thinking, I was like, wow, the behaviors that I know of a kid that's in one of the group homes, I'm the surrogate. And that's why I know a lot of what's going on. And I'm a CA.S.A. And so with that being said, I'm like, wow, if this was 15 years ago, this wouldn't be a conversation. We've already been in Mommy Youth Camp or in Cuyahoga Hills.
Tico somewhere.
Right. Oh, yeah. I forgot that one, too. So we're going back.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, it's like, but now, you know, we want them sending kids out of town. They go into residential facilities or what have you for a few months. Then, of course, they're going to be stepped down, so they might go to a group home, or they might go to a treatment home, or go to group home and then step down and finally go to a treatment home.
Right.
And then the hope would be that finally either they go back to family members, or if there's permanent custody, then they get adopted,
Emancipate
or
or
they just stay in the group, in the foster home, so they emancipate out. You know, the system is, you know, it is what it is, it is. And I just come to that realization, but a lot of changes. And, you know, and those who've been involved in the system have seen it. And yeah, there's some people that will gripe about it. You know, there's times when I'm like, you know, if this was back in the day, this kid would automatically be in me. You know, but I can't bitch or vent about it because it's not going to make any change. It's just all I can do is, what supports can I put in place?
Yeah, I think everybody does the back in the day thing, from athletics to
and that's the other thing.
education. If it's back, you know, I think there's been a progression amongst society as a whole. You know, so football is not the same, basketball is not the same, teaching is not the same. You know, now it's like the judicial system's not the same,
You
but
know, obviously things have changed, but the other thing is, once again, alluding back to, you know, smartphones have their positive, you know, internet and everything, but the addiction, because that is an addiction, is, you know, kids don't want to do some of that physical stuff. Like this year, the Belief Center, we don't have a league.
okay,
And it's not like I didn't want to do it.
right.
It was just a question like
So
I
had
wasn't
an
going to have enough
interest, yeah.
teams to compete against one another. And it's like I had 4. Well, I can't have, okay, well, you'll play this. So team A plays team B, team C plays team A, and then we go back to the, that's not a league.
Right.
So what I've decided, what we've rather decided to do is we're going to start doing Saturdays at the end of the month, skills drills, and hope
Okay.
and then we'll do some prevention and a meal, and do more like a camp for several weeks. And then the goal would be that those kids have gelled together, and now they're
Combine
ready
that
for
to
a
league,
team.
right.
And just build up from the bottom up. But the thing is, I watched we were getting ready to do practice, and 2 of the young men were standing there with their phones and they're on and everything. I said, okay, why don't you put your phone? I said, as a matter of fact, why don't you give me your phone and I'll lock it in the office? Because I don't want to deal with like who
Right,
stole
right.
whose phone or whatever. Let me put it in there. He goes, oh, whoa, hold on. I'm like, but it's practice time.
Right.
So he put it down and just put it on top of his thing. Why every time after he finished running his suicide,
go back
or whatever,
to the
he went
phone.
back to his phone and he's checking his phone. I'm like, hold on. This is practice.
Right.
The other thing is, you're really not into practice if you're so concerned about whatever, you know, your conversation. And the other thing is, when I took, we're walking, now you know New York, you gotta look across the street. And even though it's supposed to be a one-way street, this is New York.
Right.
So why he's walking like this on
the
his phone,
phone.
and all he's doing is he's texting somebody and talking. I was like, dude, you almost got hit by a car.
Right.
Come back. I said, why don't you put your phone up? Now we're on the top of Rockefeller Center. So the other ones are taking their pictures, you know, of, you know, the city of New York. What is he doing? He's standing there and it's too cold out there, and he's on his phone. I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, he's addicted to his phone.
Right.
So obviously in my house, the rule is if we're sitting down for a
Gotta put
meal,
it away, yeah.
the phone puts up. I actually have a little jail thing.
Okay.
I haven't used it, but I threaten them. It's sitting on the counter. That I got the key,
Right.
and you can put your phone in there, and I'll lock it up.
Right.
And so I said, look, I need my phone,
Right.
but what I do is I don't bring it to the dinner table.
Yeah, you could put it away. Yeah.
I'll put it down and leave, and purposely I don't want you to see it because I know it's going to go off. My phone
Right.
goes off all the time.
Right.
I'm going to put it, in, you know, under something or in the counter in the kitchen, on the
Yeah.
buffet in the dining room. I'm not bringing it to the table. Why? I got this other one. He's like this, and I'm like, dude, like really? This is the time I said you'll appreciate that when you get older that you were
Right.
able to have conversation. I said, I'm not going to drill you. Oh, how was school today? Or what?
Right.
I'm not going to go through that round. I'm just going to say that here we are eating. I might casually say, you know what, this weekend I'm going to do midnight run, but then Saturday I don't have any games or anything. What do you guys maybe want to do? And 9 out of 10 now they don't even want to do anything. I'm like, you want to go to
No.
Sky Zone? You want to do this? You everything? No, I'm cool.
Yeah, man. Shoot,
It's-
I'm battling the same thing between the. I mean, we could go into a whole nother conversation about the vapes, but we could talk about that
Oh,
all day.
please, that's-
So between the phone and the vapes, you know, that's a whole
Well, I just did the
whole
expulsion today
situation.
because of the vape.
But man, you know, I gotta get ready to get out of here. But I just want you to know that, you know, the reason why I asked you to have this conversation because you've been, you know, in the community so long, and just to see you working with, you know, like multiple communities, not just, you know, African American people, not just Spanish people, not just, you know, Caucasian people, man, and just to see you in the community, man, like that, and then see we touch a lot of the same youth, and all of them be like, oh, you know, pops, man, pops. So it's like the respect that they give you or the endearment that they have, even if things don't always work out, like at my house, at your house, anybody's house, but the kids always would say like, no, he's all right with me. So like sitting down with you is it's just a pleasure and a privilege really. And just to, I just wanted to say before we wrap that, you know, the things that you're doing on the South Side. I mean, I know I had come down there, seen you at the Believe Center before, but you know, if there's anything that, you know, I can do or to help out or anything that you're trying to raise an initiative for, I know the stuff that you do is not free, you know. So, and a lot of times it comes out of your own pocket. So, if there's any way I can raise awareness to what you got going on, or if you need to, you know, do some fundraising, man, let me know. I'll you know, I don't have a whole lot, but what I can do is, you know, help and do my part, and
Well, thank you.
see you push forward, man. I just appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, like I said before, you know, it's one for the wake, one for the work. Let's call it 2 cups. It's just a metaphor for life. And I just wanted to give you your flowers about the work that you're doing in the community. Is there anything coming up that you want to bring awareness to before we get out of here?
I mean, well, obviously, I alluded to it is, you know, at the Belief Center, because we see that there's a lot of youth that want to do sports, maybe because of all the issues that are going on with the Toledo public schools or the public school system, that you can't get on a team or whatever, and it just seems all mishmash. I know that a lot of youth have allegiance to their building. So say, for example, and I'm going to give kudos out to Whittier, only because that's one of the schools that I'm in, and they're the Wolves. And I'm kind of endeared to the Wolves because my school was a Wolf, and I even had a wolf in the school building when I had a lions. I had a real wolf. So it's just a funny thing. But with that being said is, there's youth there that want to be on a team, but what they found out is that with teams, they could have kids from Longfellow or whatever, and they all have to go together, and they practice at another school.
Right.
So
That's not their building.
Yeah, it's not the building. But the other thing is I'm going to be selfish as a parent, because I always look it through the eyes of a parent. I work. How am I going to get so and so when I'm accustomed to them going to their school? Now I got to go over to the other end of town for their practice, and then I got to go to games. That's kind of like, you know, but I want my child to have what they would like to have. So that's problematic. So we saw that as a problem. So I believe what we decided to do is we do the skills and drills. And what I did do is for Whittier is, you know what, Whittier, you want a team, make your own team. My son will be the coach. He works for the Believe and the DEA. And so therefore we'll make it happen. We'll sponsor you. We don't have a league. So what I did is I took them and plopped them into the East Toledo Family Center.
Family Center.
So they're playing there. So at least because I mean, we know the competition sharpens the minds, and you also know that behavior-wise, as an individual, as a student, that not necessarily saying it's held against them, but I know that in order for me to play, I better do well in school. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to play.
Right.
So it's a win-win situation. So there's that. But what I want to kind of promote is the fact that we see that as an issue. And so Coach Moan, God bless him, because he's my sports director in the Believe, and Elena, the program director, came with the idea, like, why don't we just do skills drills, let them get together, come Saturday, this way, and actually it's beneficial to parents because basically it's drop off.
Right.
Drop your kids off at, I think we said 9, and don't pick them up till 2.
Okay.
So they're there all day. So
That's
parents,
on Saturdays? Okay.
starting the 31st.
What age group?
I think we said 3rd grade and 8th grade.
3rd to 8th? Okay.
So with that being said is, that gives them the opportunity, and the other thing is then, it does some connection. Because if I'm playing with another individual, then, we become friends. And that will help strengthen the teams.
Right.
So the goal would be that afterwards, they would be so connected that they're going to be willing to start doing teams.
Okay.
And we'll start our league up because we'll use that as our foundation.
Right.
So that's something I really want to promote, because unfortunately what I'm seeing is like a lot of sports isn't really happening.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, I'm really proud of the fact that we finally started the Pro-Am, which is adults, and that begins this Sunday. It's Sunday night. First game doesn't start till 7. But I'm really proud because Patrick, who started it, I watched him from here grow up, young man who had a vision and is doing, what he's doing. He's in Vegas right now, and he just called me. He goes like, okay, well, you know what? I just want to talk to so-and-so about football. What do we? No, one day at a time. One thing at a time, player. But that's the inspiring thing. And of course, the Belief Center is 14 years old this year.
Okay.
So we're going to have a big whatever. The dance group, the Corazon de Mexico, which we have, they're 30 years old.
Okay.
So we're going to have a big celebration. So keep your eyes out for that celebration. I just want to put words out.
The flyers to those different events, I'll start, sharing them too, and just getting awareness. Like I said, some of my best workforce development was done like on the South Side, like with Flock, and so like we're definitely, the city has different sides and different flavors, but it's small enough to where we should be able to support each other. Yep. So, But yeah, man, so that's one for the wake, one for the work, 2 cups. Like I said, once again, Dr. Vincent Riccardi, doing great things in the city. I think the half has not have even been told in our time together, but I'm looking forward to seeing what great things he has going on and just being a part. And maybe one day we have him back again where he's sharing some more initiatives he's got going. But once again, I'd like to thank you for coming. Y'all can like, subscribe, share. I know people watch the reels, but subscribe, share, watch the whole video. Follow Mr. Riccardi. You can find him on Facebook, Vincent Riccardi. Vinnie Riccardi.
Vinnie
You can
Riccardi.
find him on Facebook. Just see all the great things he has going on. But until next time, it's your friend, 2 Cups.